I'm about to put Hogwarts Legacy away right now. No more. I'm gonna turn it
What
off.
is what is going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody feeling, man? It's another beautiful Saturday, at least beautiful for me down here in Phoenix. But shout out to everybody watching live. We appreciate you guys' continue support, the love. I see all you beautiful people in the chat. Shout out to Steel, Blue, Dave, Taylor, Shown to everybody hanging out. Once again, hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already, man. We got a phenomenal show lined up, man. I've missed you guys. I've kind of been away from everything this week. I really haven't been on Twitter a whole lot, so I was really juiced up for this show today, man. We got a lot to talk about, as you guys know. And shout out, like I said, once again, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody who will be watching this later on. Appreciate you guys. Continue support. But man, we got a phenomenal guest this week. We got a bunch of topics, everybody. I hope you guys have had a phenomenal week. So let's just get to it, man. We're going to start with our guest, man. This man needs really no introduction at this particular point. He's been on the show many times. One of my favorite people. We can just throw gamer out the window. One of my favorite people to talk to and just be around, always positive, super smart, ultra gamer, you know what I mean? VR enthusiast as well. Shout out to UK Asante hanging out with us. I had to throw the bat signal up at the last minute, brother, but I appreciate you coming through, man. But how you been this week? What you been up to, brother?
Oh, first and foremost, I'm grateful for I was sitting there, I was in my study, I was hanging out, and all of a sudden I saw through my window what happened. It was the Shop Podcast icon blaring, and I had to stand up. You know that Michael Keaton move.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
yes.
I start to unbutton the top two buttons.
That's right. Yes, no, I some of the folks on the panel I don't get a chance to podcast with on the regular. Mr. Pong Soul, Fuzzy Belvedere, and yourself. It is always love when I have the opportunity to be on with you guys. So I'm super excited. Let's go. This is great.
Awesome. And once again, chat, we appreciate you guys. What's up, Lewis, RSJ, man? Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live, man. Hit the like button, retweet the link, all of that good stuff, man. But let me throw this over to you. How you been, Fuzz? What you been up to, bro? What you been playing? How your week been?
Oh, I've been doing pretty good. Staying off Twitter, but we'll get into that later. Yeah, Twitter is just fake news all over again. It's like fake news 2.0 with some of these gaming sites and stuff. But aside from that, playing a lot of Hogwarts Legacy. Also still playing Undisputed. They had a patch that kind of pissed me off, and they rolled it back just a smidge. They still need to do something about the arm fatigue, where you can't throw more than 3 jabs, or by the 3rd jab, you're ready to get caught by a hard cross, and you're pretty much knocked out. So they got some more work to do on that thing. But other than that, glad to be here. Man, can't wait to get into this. Glad we got Kay Asante as a guest again. And, man, this is going to be a good one.
Awesome, man. I see still throwing a shot early. Okay.
Oh no, not at all. He's just remarking on a certain individual that was just clowning and continues to clown, and it is what it is. Some people just need to get that paint off their face. It is what it is. Let's move on.
Shout out to Steel Rain, man. Okay. Oh, I love
I see you, Steel. I see you, brother.
What's up, Mr. Pong Soul, the battery of the Shop Podcast? How you been this week, brother? What you been up to, man?
Nothing. I'm just amazed that my brother Steele comes in and starts stirring up stuff already. See, this is what he does. On the night, I know. On the nights he's not actually podcasting. What does he do? He shows up in the chat and starts showing up and dropping craziness in there, and he wants to stir everything up and get the pot moving. All right, listen. No, it's been a great week. Awesome to have, of course, Mr. Kay Asante back on the show one more time. Love hearing his thoughts. Like he said, don't get the podcast from him very often. Obviously, hear him a lot on other shows, but it's always great to actually be here and actually talk to him about this stuff. So thank you, Kay Asante, for showing up when the signal was flashed up in the sky. And of course, getting here Saturday night back at it with my brothers PTK and Fuzzy. It doesn't get any better than this. Been a great week. Like Fuzzy said, a lot of fake news. Oh boy.
I can't wait till we get in there. I can't wait to hear you on that phone. I might start with you,
man. Let me tell you, the journalists just keep doing their thing. They just keep making us YouTubers look better and better. Just keep doing it, mainstream media. Just keep doing it. You're just putting yourself right down the drain. I love it. But yeah, we had a lot of this week. Not a big news week, but still a lot of movement, a lot of games dropping, a lot to talk about. Otherwise, gaming it's been a lot of Hogwarts. I can't say enough about Hogwarts. I think everybody at this point has said everything that needs to be said. This game is a special game. No doubt about it. Even if you're not a Harry Potter fan, it's just a fantastic RPG experience at the end of the day. But man, what an atmosphere to keep diving back into time and time again. Played some Shadow Warrior 3, which dropped into Game Pass. Big Shadow Warrior fan here. 1 and 2, Lo Wang.
When did that drop? I totally wanted to download that. When?
Oh
did
yeah,
drop?
dropped this week. Dropped this week, brother.
Damn.
Yeah, I
am drowning, bro.
I saw
I
it.
am drowning.
Oh, crazy,
man.
dude.
It's in there. So yeah, I downloaded that. They've changed some things. Again, I beat number 2, and you guys know how rare it is for me to beat a game. Put over 80 hours into it. I loved the humor. Loved Lo Wang. They've changed things. They've stepped their bar up for sure. You can see the funding and the time went up. They're trying to take another step up, which is great. I love when devs do that. But they did take away the open worldness to it from the first 2. They made it more like a linear, more so path, and then you get into a battle arena, and then you're fighting in there, bigger battles, and then you move on. But they upped the movement and the traversal because they gave you a grappling hook this time around. They sped up the movement a little bit. It was already a pretty quick twitch Doom-like shooter back in the day. They definitely stepped that up. I would definitely say this is, they definitely took a lot of influence from Doom Eternal in this, but it's much more forgiving. I love Doom Eternal as far as, what it did. However, the platforming really turns me off. You guys know me. I don't like platforming a lot, and it's pretty brutal in Doom Eternal at points. Shadow Warrior, 3 is much more forgiving in that manner. So having a great time with it. Absolutely love it. Dropped into that for a few hours. And then, of course, picked up, me as the grazer. Every once in a while I'm skimming through those sales, and there's some weird small games in there that are just so cheap. I got to pick them up. So I got to shout out one. First, I picked up Shing, which is a 2D brawler ninja with modern day humor stylized characters to it. Really cool animation. Cool little game. Just touched on that. Party Hard 2 is a weird game, but I've had my eye on it for a long time. That went on sale. I picked it up. I only played for a little bit on that, so I don't have much of an opinion yet. But then I picked up this tower defense game called X-Morph Defense on sale right now at the Xbox store for $6 for the complete edition. And it's a tower defense / shooter. So you're not only setting up your tower defense, but you also have a alien craft that you're flying around and shooting and that kind of stuff, and upgrading and all that good stuff. So if you're in a tower defense and you're looking for one of those games, $6 complete edition. I think normally it's like 20 or 30 bucks for the complete edition. This is well worth it. I just spent probably 2 hours today playing around with it. It is a fantastic tower defense game. So I got to shout that out for $6. X-Morph Defense. Go check that out. Otherwise, we do have some things to get into. So let's get down to business.
Oh yeah, we got a whole lot to talk about. But shout out to you, Pong, the Battery of the Shop podcast, always coming through with the energy. You grazing, glad you playing all those games, man, giving us those nice reviews, man. I feel a lot of people do listen to that, Pong. A lot of people are unaware. Every week you always bring up these different games, a lot of smaller games.
So many games. There's so many games now, man. Yeah,
definitely.
It's hard to keep track of. So
definitely, man. But we got a whole lot to talk about, man. Shout out to all the people coming through. Tony, Talos, once again, Black Card, everybody, Blue Moon FC. Appreciate you guys once again. Retweet the link, hit that like button, subscribe if you have not already. You guys are amazing, man. But let's go ahead and dive in. We got a lot to talk about. We're gonna start with the poll of the week, man. You guys know what we do. Poll of the week here at the Shop Podcast every single Monday on my Twitter account. So if you're not following me, go ahead and go down in the description, click that link and follow me, man. Real easy to do. Be a part of the poll of the week, man. So we had a cool one this week. Now, this is way premature, but I don't give a damn. Sometimes I throw all the logic out the window when it comes to these poll of the week because it's just fun, right? Who cares? We're spitballing. We're always in speculation town anyway, so doesn't even matter. So the poll of the week this week, let me go ahead and pull it up here. I do apologize. So it was, if you had to predict, should both Hi-Fi Rush and Hogwarts Legacy be on the Game of the Year ballot at the end of the year? Would they? Yes or no? So there was only 2 options. There was an overwhelming 84% yes. Now, we are very early in 2023. This is going to be a monster year. I think we're all preparing for the windfall happening, and we've already gotten some amazing games. And both of those, as of right now, would probably be on Game of the Year list. So we're going to start with you. Okay, Asante, I know we're projecting far out, brother. We got a lot to go. We got the Zeldas and the Spider-Mans and the Starfields. But do you think by the end of the year, or will these games hold up? Hi-Fi Rush or Hogwarts Legacy, or both? Do you think both will be on that Game of the Year list by the end of the year, Asante? Oh.
Okay, Asante's muted because he's a professional.
And of course, yeah, I'm talking.
Yeah, you are muted.
Muted.
You are muted,
yeah,
sir. Rookie mistakes.
Yeah,
Rookie mistakes.
Yeah. Rookie mistakes. Only been doing this for a while. It's okay.
Didn't you just podcast this morning? What's going on? Aren't you warmed up?
Bro,
what's going on?
Shout out to everyone. Shout out to the
Too
gaming
much
circle,
podcasting,
man.
brother. Too much podcasting. No, I'm gonna be a little slanderous this evening on this show. Forgive me. Should they be 100%? Both of them, each of them, all on their own merits. Will they be? That's another question. Hi-Fi Rush may be, because Hi-Fi Rush may just get swept up in all of the, exactly as you're saying, the madness of all these other crazy Onslaught games coming out. Hogwarts Legacy, which I say demands some kind of recognition, will more depend. And when you say will it get award seasons, we all tend to point to the Keeleys and all that drama, all that 1 out of 10s of it.
There. Yeah, it gets shaky.
You know, it makes me go, will they stand on its merit? Probably they're standing on business decisions. And to me, that means, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I hope it does. I hope it transcends all of that BS, but I'm sure I don't know. And that's why I will take this opportunity whenever I get to cheap plug CIS 2023. That is the award show. Well, not just an award show, but that's just a showcase that the Wandering Dutch holds every year, so that we are not beholden to all this business decisions.
The Keeleys, yeah.
Yes. so that the games get shown off on their own merit. On that show, I suspect any game that deserves to be recognized will be. Will that happen at the Keeleys? There's a reason why I refuse to call it the Game Awards, but the Keeleys. So I don't know about that one.
Okay, no, that's a fair assessment. I want to piggyback off of something, and I'm gonna throw it right back to you. So we're gonna boomerang this right back to you. Is that more of just is that more of just the history of the Keeleys, or are you just making that? Are you making that decision based on what we have left as far as what's projecting out for the rest of the year? Is it just gonna be that much difficult this year for them to make that decision, or is that just tradition?
I think it's a combination of both. Like, you know, even at the even if there was no backwards drama and Atomic Heart being another one of those, even though if there was no background drama and the game was in a vacuum and stood by itself, there are still many huge heavy hitters yet to come, and we're so excited to see where they go. And you know, marchers are marching and Starfield and all of this. You know what I'm saying? You know, we are here with the head of Cabal. I mean, come on now, it's a difficult year to shine through, right? And I as a musician will tell you there is a secret special place in my heart for Hi-Fi Rush. I actually finished it yesterday. It took me extra long to finish it because I didn't want to, but because there's so many other games coming, I had to get it out of the backlog. Shout out to the Grazers, and I salute you, Pong Soul, for coining that term. Every time I use it, I give you the credit.
Man, you got to put a copyright on that thing, man.
No, Microsoft's got it internally. You know, Jez said it 2 years ago when I first started listening to Jez.
Okay.
They use that internally as a descriptor.
So I heard that coming out of your mouth. So every time I say that. Every time I say that, I give you the TM and justice.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You, sir. Exactly. So yes, I am indeed what you would consider a grazer, as coined by the man Pong Soul. So you know, I had to get it out of the backlog. But just in general, without all that drama, there was just so much going on this year, right? So with that said, we've also, you know, we each of us in various forms and shows have already spoken on the fact that, hey, you know, it's unfortunate that sometimes business decisions outweigh the merits of the products that you're there for, and you show up and saying we're here to celebrate games, and then you rattle off awards as if they're just short shrift and then go back to the business, right? So with all that stew, I can see it being very tough for it to penetrate, you know, to the top, especially considering all the potentials coming out now. I hope I am wrong, because as I'm telling you, as every one of y'all did, just like y'all did me last year with Vampire Survivors, yeah, this is cracked now. And I'm talking about Hogwarts Legacy, right? This is crack now, right? And everybody's into it except for Everborn Saga, who's afraid of it. But that's neither here nor there. This he calls a poor man's Tolkien, but then I got him to figure it out. I teased out the reason why he didn't want to play it. He's scared of the length of time it'll take him to play because there's just so many games coming out right. So I think that perfect storm may not work in its favor. I hope I am wrong.
Okay. And once again, this is all in lieu of just even if we took out the Keeley situation, that variable, right? It's just so many damn games coming out. Like Absolutely. just in just minus the Keeley thing, it's a lot of high quality games coming out. This is just one of those years where something's probably going to be left out. Like there may be a some things with an S. There may be a couple some things that get left out. Let me get to this super chat real quick. Shout out to Alvin with the $10 super chat. Appreciate you, bro. He said, just got off work, settling in. Great podcast with 4 great panelists. Let's go Redfall 2023 Game of the Year. He put his ballot in. So he already. So so shout out to you. $10 super chat, Alvin. Appreciate you, man. So we're gonna throw this over to Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. Same question, brother. Now, once again, keep in mind we're still February 18th. 40 some odd days into the year at this point. That's not a lot. And we've got two games that like in any other year would be almost definite. This year we're like, I don't know. So where are you at on this, man?
Well, I think we have my guts tell me we may even have another candidate coming next week, next Tuesday. So it's going to be tough. I would like to see both titles make it to the end of the year as far as Game of the Year conversation. But I think it's going to be one of those things where at one point, I think there were only 5 that the Keyleys would narrow it down to. And then I think last year it was 6.
6, yeah.
I think they may have to this year, especially considering the how full this year is going to be and the potential of a lot of those titles that are coming down the pipeline.
But will that water down the award if they just add 2 additional slots?
No, because even the Oscars and Emmys have done similar things where if there's a pretty stacked year, they expand the overall listing. But I think this is one of those years that they're going to have to do it because I think Atomic Heart is going to be in that conversation. I know a lot of people look at it and they're like, I don't really see it. I just a gut feeling it has story to it and combat that looks like it's going to be enough of a conversation piece for the Game of the Year talks at the end of the year. Then you got Starfield, which I don't think anybody has any doubts as long as they deliver on just the inkling of the idea. I think that one definitely is in the conversation without a doubt. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Yep, that's another one.
The previous Star Wars got snubbed. I don't think that happens this time around. I think this time around it gets put front and center as far as being in that conversation. Spider-Man 2 more than likely is going to be in that conversation as well. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom more than likely going to be in that conversation.
Oh, that's already locked. That's already locked.
Keely's
already got that one pinned in.
Yeah, we can just X that spot off. Yeah.
So basically, the rest of them are fighting for 5 spots then.
right.
But that's what Asante was talking about, though. That's what Asante was alluding to. Like that's part of. I'm not gonna say it's exactly true, but that's part. I think that's part of what you were alluding to. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sorry. Every time anybody makes mention, I have to throw my slander in there. Before they give them that award, they have to show everybody how to use an abacus, but that's neither here nor there. Keep moving.
I think another one that's going to be on that list is going to be Liza P. I mean, yes, I'm not a Dark Souls or even Elden Ring fan, but there's something about that game that looks like it's going to grab the attention of gamers, worldwide, where that's going to be in the conversation as well. And then the last case of Benedict Fox. And these are just like new IPs or sequels and things. There's a couple of remakes that I think are going to be possibly in the conversation as well. Like Dead Space, had it not been for Hogwarts Legacy, I think people would still be talking about Dead Space right now. Like after the Callisto Protocol just didn't quite deliver what people were expecting or hoping for, and Dead Space, the remake, delivered. I think that one, and I don't know how everyone feels about remakes being nominated, but between Dead Space and then was it Resident Evil 4 remake?
Yep.
I have a feeling those are going to be, conversation pieces as well. So, and that's just the icing on the cake. Like, there's the whole second half of the year that we're not 100% on. There's still some smaller games mixed in there, like I think Planet Alana might even find its way into the conversation. So there's so much that's potentially hitting this year that could be a game of the winner or game of the year nominee. It's going to be tough to say. I would hope that Hogwarts Legacy doesn't get snubbed for its controversy in the background. Same thing with Atomic Heart. If Atomic Heart delivers, it just needs to be there. And I'm not even going to get into the arguments of should a racing game be nominated as well.
I knew that was coming. I knew it. I knew it.
Forza. I mean, Horizon 5. The fact that you had so many people playing a niche game, that should have been a whole different, viewpoint or look as far as that game or consideration in the past. Maybe motorsport is that same way, but I'm not going to argue with people that aren't going to give it a chance to be in that conversation. But this is a stacked year.
Forza win best platformer or something, like best RPG or something ridiculous, right?
Yeah. So it's just this year it's going to be tough. I any other time I would say, yeah, I would like to have the keys to the Game Awards, but this year I think it's going to be a little tough to have to narrow the field down unless they expand the field. Narrow it down to 5 or 6. I just don't see it, man, without a lot of hurt feelings out there.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be that anyway. Like we can once again pencil that in. It doesn't matter how we shuffle these games. There's gonna be a lot of people that are upset about who got nominated once again, and this is all subjective because the criteria seems to change a little bit every year. You know what I mean? Based on what's going on that year. So we'll see. And I do 100% agree with you. And once again, chat, let us know how you guys feel about this. Are these two games specifically, would you like to, or do you think we're going to see these on these ballots at the end of the year for Game of the Year? Mr. Pong, so co-mayor of Speculation Town.
Yes, sir.
Where are we at on this, brother? What do you think about this, man?
Yeah. Keely's sweating bullets already. Keely's wiping the brow. He's in a no-win situation here, right? So on one hand, he can hope and pray that all these next big games that are coming out are so good that, he doesn't expand the listing, so he doesn't even have to deal with the Hogwarts stuff, because unfortunately, Keely's wrapped up in the politics a lot. Keely's got a lot of friends in the journalistic field, and he's going to feel a lot of pressure to not included. Again, we saw what happened when they announced it for most anticipated game last year at the awards. Everybody else got ovations. Hogwarts' name got called out, and everybody was dead quiet in that audience. So Keely is sweating bullets right now. He is hoping to God all the rest of these other ones hit so that he doesn't even have to consider it. And he can go, nope, there were just too many this year. That's just the way it works some years.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can see that happening, sir.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy
Yes.
that's even a possibility, Pong. That's insane.
Yep. But that's the feeling that I get from it. Now, he's going to take heat. If it's not in the conversation, if they totally ignore it, he's going to take a lot of heat for it. But it gives him an easier out to do it that way. So I think that's the way he's actually going to roll. But this year is so tough. So I got to say no.
Okay.
I have to say no. Now, should they be in the conversation? Absolutely, right? Just like Kay Asante said, there's no question. I don't care what else comes out for the rest of the year. These two games have already earned their spot in that conversation, all right? They've already earned the trip to the All-Star game just from their early time out here. So I have zero problems with the conversation. I just think that overall, this year is going to be, again, as we've talked about, one of the best, if not the greatest year in video games history. And there's going to be a lot of unfortunate, games that are unfortunately can't make that list. And I think that these two probably are going to be on the outs. Hi-Fi has a better chance because obviously the indie titles, generally speaking, there's fewer of them that get put into that conversation. But we know Keely always gives one of them the nod, just like Stray last year, which made 0 sense. But anyways, and I like the looks of that game, and I love cats, so I still don't get it. But anyways, he's going to give one of them a nod, right? But there are, like Fuzzy was just listing off a bunch of smaller ones that could be there that could take that spot. So it's going to be really tough for Hi-Fi Rush to get in there unless the smaller games just don't hit this year. But the way this year is starting off, yeah, no, we're in for a haul this year. And imagine if Microsoft gets Hellblade 2 out by the time before the awards, so that it can be nominated. My gosh, you're talking about legitimately probably 8 to 10 qualified games out of the big ones this year. And then potentially, you could have a handful of smaller ones step up in there. We've got about Replaced. Replaced is coming out
another
this year and
one.
already has a ton of buzz as well. So yeah, I just think this is going to be a really tough year. But I have to say for these two specifically, I want them in the conversation. I just think this year's too stacked for them to get in there. That's all.
Okay. And another thing too, traditionally coming out early in the year isn't beneficial unless you're like Elden Ring. Elden Ring is an exception. Like it came out very early in the year, but it didn't matter when that game came out. It was so big that
it was
there was no way. Yeah, there was.
And people are still going to be talking about Hogwarts at the end of the year. This is not going to disappear off the radar. Again, there's going to be a lot of heat for this to be in the conversation. If we're just talking about the Keyleys, I just don't think it makes it. Now, other awards somewhere else.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Maybe. Potentially, I mean, there's a lot of politics and everything nowadays, so it's always hard to tell. But I think that it could win outside of the Keeley. I just think the Keeleys is not going to do it. So
okay, all right, cool. No, and once again, that was a nice warm up topic. Chat, let us know how you guys feel about that. Are those two games going to be there at the end of the year? Yay or nay? It doesn't really matter. Once again, this is a golden age of game. Another quote, Pong. That should be 10 cents every time we say it in your bank account. I've been telling you for a long time now, brother. We got to get you a patent, trademark, something, bro. We got to get that ball rolling. But
I mean, get a nice shirt going. We'll start spreading that out on E3 floors, bro, something like. Come on, golden age of gaming in the front. Come on, it'd be great,
man. Come on, man. We all over that. Yeah, for sure. But once again, great warm up topic, chat. Let us know how you guys feel about that. Yay or nay, either or. And I'm really super excited about this next topic because it's not one that's really like. It's what I just kind of thought of. I didn't really look at the news and say, oh, well, let's grab this, grab that. It's something that I've been considering. And I love to ask these type of questions to you, chat, first and foremost, and then obviously to the panel members here at the Shop Podcast, man. But let me go ahead and grab this.
So you're just saying you didn't pay attention to news at all this week?
So no, I did.
With something, right?
Well, no. This is something that looking at the news, I just kind of realized, like, man, this is actually happening more often. So I'd like to talk about this a little bit. So we're gonna start with you on this one, K. Asante. But I want to talk about generational games, right? Mm-hmm. So this we didn't used to get generational games this often. It feels like these are happening now. Generational is subjective. Let's start there. Some people may feel like a generational game is, I don't know, goddamn, Doom. Somebody may feel like it's some other game. So it's subjective here. But I'm asking you guys each individually. Do you guys feel like that's happening more often? Like, I don't, it just, to me, we like Elden Ring, then you got a game like Hogwarts. Then we possibly got Starfield and Zelda. Like these games that are like defining generations, we're going to start getting 2, 3, 4 of these every single year. And is it going to be difficult to call a game generational when the bar is so high, so consistently? So, like, how do you feel about that going forward, Asante? And chat as well, too. Let me know how you guys feel about that.
So I will, and just so you understand where I come to it from, okay? Yeah. So I consider a generational game maybe a little different than others, but I understand what the common consensus of a generational game would be. And I'll tell you what I mean by generational game. Like, to me, I heard some news this week, and y'all may be with me or against me, but we'll see where this goes. I heard some news this week that made me very happy, and that was two pieces of news related to the same IP, that Nintendo, yes, the Abacus makers themselves, were putting Game Boy games into the Switch. And the only game that I would ever play on that thing is Tetris. Because when I was 8 years old, that game shined brightly to me. And every time they re-release that thing, it makes all the money. Shout out to Tetris Connected, still making money now. So to me, that is a multi-generational game. I heard they're doing a movie about it. I'm like, yo, people need to understand Tetris is known as the greatest game ever for a reason. So I say that to say, do people still remember games like Jet Set Radio Future? To me, that was a generational title, right? So to me, titles like Hi-Fi Rush, I will play that moving forward. I will be the one that'll be finding emulation ways of playing it, even when that doesn't exist anymore. So that's where I find the generational game. But to your point, sir, about about games that transcend the zeitgeist, games that bring people in, games like your Elden Ring, which had non-Souls players discovering Souls games and whatnot. Yeah, unfortunately and or fortunately, that will be more and more apt in the world that we see today. Why? Because as we see all of these AAA huge companies trying to minimize risk and put their eggs in one basket, they keep refining and refining. How long have they been refining that Souls formula? Until they find, because you'll say it's a generational game. That's kind of like saying that, well, it's not the same, but people will think about it like, oh, they just came out of nowhere and made a banger that's generational. They've been working at that specific formula for like what, 8 games now?
Yeah.
And the final one just went, okay, this is the one, right? Absolutely. And I suspect that in the AAA space where money putting out projects tends to be much more of a risk, because hey, these games are really, really cost a lot of money. I mean, we heard, I don't know if it's a show note point today, but we heard that Saints Row, they put $100 million in it and it underperformed. You know what I mean? Right?
Crazy.
$100 million, man.
90 million in marketing. That was where it all went.
You know what I'm saying? So in that world, right, they have to make those big bets. And yeah, either they fall historically hilariously, right? Or you have something that they've refined to a pure sheen, and the world like bends to their will, right? And that's exactly what happened with Elden Ring. I can see that Starfield is literally a culmination of that itself. How many times has the man with the jacket come out and said, "Hey, we've put everything we've learned"? You know, how many times has the god come out, Odin himself come out and said, "Hey, this is the culmination of every game you know about
years
from
in
us."
the making.
Right? This is where those generational games are built. Now, what I think will be super interesting are the teeny tiny, really from nowhere titles that actually get that moniker. That's where I'll be excited and interested. Games like your Vampire Survivors, right? Some people can argue that came and moved the needle far, and it came out of nowhere. And it's a game where graphically you wouldn't think it would mean anything or any of those things. You know what I'm saying? Those games that come out and really move the needle, that stuff excites me more, because that's like creativity to its nth degree, right? But these AAA huge budgeted games hitting there, I do foresee a lot more doing that, because it is in their business model to either succeed or many of them fail. So it's very, 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 very much pressure on them to not only make it succeed, but make something that endures, that builds a franchise that can continue on. You know what I'm saying? You know, in the best case, you'll see a lot of that happen. In the worst case, you see a lot of them try and fail. But yeah, I do agree with you that, you know, specifically in the AAA space, we are expected to see a lot more of those huge. I mean, look at Hogwarts. Same thing. You can say what you want. It's a different game. But when you're playing this, you know there's a lot of learnings that have come from various sources that builds this game to what it is now. It has a lot of its
Hannah Montana's World Tour.
No, not what I'm saying.
No, I know what you're talking about.
You know,
they took it from Arkham.
Systems.
They took from Arkham. They took
yes. I mean, they took the good and the bad from a bunch of the WB. Look at all the bad builds that are out there. They still need to fix a lot of the bugs that are in there. Shout out to WB. But you know, this is the culmination of a lot of their work. As soon as I showed this to Everborn, I'm trying to get him to play it. He's like, yeah, I can see why WB has a hit here, because their attention to detail was shown off in the first Lord of the Rings game they made, right? They go extra with their attention to detail, and you can see all of that was brought to bear here, right? So you are absolutely right. I do see that we are going to start seeing a whole lot of games that demand your attention because of the time and the effort and the money that's just literally just been thrown at this thing, right? Every once in a while, I'm sure you're gonna get a Saints Row, but that probably won't be the norm.
Yeah, and I use the word generational very, very loosely here, because we all have a different definition, right?
Of course,
what that is. Everybody in chat, so that's open to interpretation. But I think most people here get what I'm trying to say for the most part. So great answer as well too. So I do agree with you on a lot of those points, because there is a difference between something coming like from left field and like everybody, it makes everybody pay attention, rather than something being refined over a long period of time, like you said, like a even like a Hogwarts, which is new, but like you said, the idea has been refined over and over again until it got to this point, like an Elden Ring, right? Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, all these other games. And then now you get to the culmination of all those things you've learned over time. So I don't know if that changes the definition of generational, right? I think the game, the product itself will speak on its own, right? It should be able to stand on its own. However you want to define it, it should be able to stand on its own merit, correct? So whether it's brand new, whether it's a refined game, it should at least be able to stand on its own.
And to be absolutely clear, I'm not saying that when the AAAs do it, it's less magical. I am loving Hogwarts. Elden Ring took over the world. Shout out to Mr. Boomstick. I never ever thought I would ever see anybody, or even Everborn, any of them start out going, oh, this game, it's not gonna be anything I'm gonna play, and then give it a month and they are like deconverted. They are preaching, you know what I mean? They are there on the pulpit with the huge Bible. That's what they were, right? So it is definitely to be commended, even when the AAAs do it, because it's hard to do. You know what I mean? So it's magical, absolutely.
And I do want to side note here. I do want to give a shout out thus far in the year to a lot of these devs, because there's been some extremely high quality, well-made games coming out. And it's, like I said, the first, 48 days of the year, right? Like there's been some very good things. And we got another week, like Atomic Hearts coming out as well. These games have been shown, they've been looking extremely good. So I want to give a shout out to all the devs that have been doing their thing this year. And another funny thing too, and then I'm gonna throw this over to you, Pong, is that it kind of feels like it usually takes 3 or 4 years into a generation for them to get the hardware, right? For them to understand the hardware, correct? And that for that to match where the ideas show up at, like some of these games ideas, you know what I mean? I don't understand. You understand what I'm trying to say, Asante?
Absolutely. No, you absolutely.
So I feel like that's part of it too.
And and I'll let Fuzzy actually expound on that a bit. Like you can literally see that in a few generations ago, where you'll see a racing game like Forza, for instance, where you'll see it release early in the gen when they make one, and then you'll see the same next version of it release late in the gen when they make it on the same platform, and the difference in performance and everything else is night and day. They are literally honing it. And you can see it even track for track, car for car, and it's just like, wow, what did they do? Add magic sauce? Somehow you see everything more. You know what I mean? They've done that. So it's very much exactly to your point. They're honing their skill. They're trying to define, get a better understanding of what this hardware can do. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, well, let me throw this over to you, Pong. Where are you at? Once again, we're just loosely defining what generational is, because that is open for interpretation. But where are you at? You think that there's definitely, it seems like an uptake in the quality of games and just, go ahead.
Yeah, because when I think of generational type games, I'm a little bit different, right? I'm much more refined when I use that term. Generational means that, 1-2 generations from now, we're still talking about those games, like the original Gears and how it changed things. Like, the 360 had a bunch, right? Mass Effect, BioShock, right? All those, Halo 3, those are generational type games that people continuously call back to when they talk about games, whether it's their favorite games or whether they're comparing games. They call back and harken back to those classics, and I think those are the generational, right? Skyrim is generational, right? Because it moved the bar forward for Western RPGs, open world. And Elden Ring obviously is generational already. I can say that because next generation people are going to be talking about what Elden Ring did and what Elden Ring was like and how it changed the game for Souls-like games, right? So that's what I consider generation. Now, games like Hogwarts and games like Spider-Man, a lot of people will say those are generational because they have big IPs attached to them. So people will talk about those forever because of the IPs that they're associated with, because the built-in fan base is so much larger than even video games, right? And so therefore those games become beloved in a different type of way, even if I wouldn't say that Hogwarts pushes the genre of RPGs forward. I would say their attention to detail is better than most, but I wouldn't say that it does anything outrageous that all of a sudden makes me look at it a different way. I would say it does everything from good to great, right? And that's what makes it a quality game and a special game, because not every game does that. Same with Spider-Man. Spider-Man doesn't do anything over the top special other than being the best damn Spider-Man game that anybody's ever seen, and overall one of the best superhero games that anybody's ever experienced, right? So that pushes those a little bit differently. But I think that right now what we're seeing is just a numbers game. Now that the video game industry has become the number one entertainment in the world, and this goes a little bit to what Kei Asante was talking about, there's more people building more games costing more money than ever in history. So obviously, with that being the case, your chances of seeing those types of games goes up dramatically when you've got so many people trying to hit the home run, right? Going for the deep ball, because they are fighting now even more so than any other time for people's actual time and money. And the only way they can do that is by making sure their game is one of the best that it can be. Now, we see that that doesn't always work. That doesn't always translate. We've seen plenty of broken games come out. Obviously, games as service are, not meant to be that, but, then you get your Fortnites in there, which again is a generational game,
yeah,
right? It changed everything, right?
It changed.
Right.
Fortnite is 110% a generational game,
right?
I'll go as far as saying Fortnite is the metaverse. They just haven't decided to put it on VR yet. When they do, it's over.
That's true. So I just think it's a numbers game right now. I think we're just seeing the fruits of so much money, so much passion being put into this industry, because it is booming and booming. Again, I go back to Strauss's interview early this year or late last year, whichever it was, when he said we got 20 more years of growth. This is the product of that. We are seeing higher quality games across the board, from indies all the way up to AAA. Like Kei Asante said, the special ones are the ones you don't have any clue about, like Hi-Fi Rush, that come out of the blue. Now, again, does that turn into a generational game? For me, I can't say that it would be, but maybe it does go back down as one of the greatest, rhythm-based games in history, right? That's certainly possible. I think it's a little too early to call it that. But those are the types of games that surprise me more than the AAA. But like Kei Asante said, it doesn't mean the AAAs, I take anything away from them when they do it right. It's just on a whole different level. But these smaller titles that these smaller devs, these indie devs, or even just smaller teams can go out and create now. And the playing field has been leveled so much that we're getting, smaller teamed titles that look like AAA games or perform close to AAA type games. That's what's different nowadays. Back, 360 era and before, there was a much greater divide between the two, but we're seeing those lines blurred each and every generation out. And I think that's why we're seeing so much more here. The talent is through the roof right now. Like, so many people have gone into this industry now, between writers, between people who, programmers, engineers. When they look across all industries where they could go, a lot of them are looking to video games, because a lot of them have that sparkle in their eye. It's becoming a little Hollywood-like, right? To get into video games. Not that your name's going to be out there, not that your picture's going to be out there, but you're in the entertainment business. And there's something a little special to that. That's what made that's what made Hollywood so big. So I think that that's where we're at now. I just think it's overall the growth of the industry and the amount of people, money, and time being put into these games that we are probably chances are going to see more generational, whatever your definition is. Even my definition this year, between Zelda, Starfield, Diablo 4, and potentially one more in there somewhere, if Hellblade 2 comes out, we could see, like I could see, even underneath my terms, 3-4 generational type games this time around, which is insane. So
it's crazy, because that bar is so different depending on your perspective and how you consume video games, how you play video games, right? So and once again, somebody may look at Fortnite and say, whatever. No, Fortnite is absolutely a generational
Minecraft.
Game.
I mean,
Minecraft.
You got to throw all that in there.
Yep. So and once again, they do fit, and those games are so big that they fit. It doesn't matter what criteria, they fit any criteria you want to throw at it. But from sales to impact to just people talking about it every single day, like those type of games fit the criteria either way. But once again, chat, what do you guys consider generational? I'm curious to see what the difference here in chat and what you guys consider actually what's generational and what's just a really high selling game or something that might be real popular, because everybody's different. And shout out to you, Splendiferous. I see you just dropping in. But let's throw this over to you, Fuzz, because once again, this is a loose definition here.
Yeah.
It can go a lot of different ways, but can you kind of feel the difference in just the quality? And once again, Paul, you brought up a lot of great points. the industry is a lot larger, technology is a lot better. There's a lot of different ways to consume video games, which means there's more people playing overall than there used to be. So, we are in this real, golden age of gaming, so to speak. But where you at on this, Fuss?
See, it's weird for me when I think generational game. It's kind of a culmination of a lot of things, and part of it is it the trendsetter as opposed to those chasing the trend? So, like something like Fortnite, I consider generational for the fact that it may not have been the first, battle royale, but it became the biggest pretty much, I won't say overnight, but it kind of took away from one that was up and coming and kind of stole the
never
lead,
gave that title back
extent.
at all.
Yeah. So yeah, PUBG was working its way to being that, and then I think just because of the little differences, because of the building aspect, that may have helped. And now that they've gone to no build, it's almost like they backtracked a bit, but it seems like it's even grown even further in popularity. And then you have think like the surprise hits, the Among Us, and then you have the classics like Tetris and things along those lines. So there's a whole bunch of different things. So for me, something like Hades was generational because it got me into the roguelikes more so than any other attempt or game that was out prior to it. So for me, it's going to be a standout. It may not be as much of a standout for others, but it did do well as far as getting people into that genre. And the same thing with Elden Ring. It brought a lot of non-Souls players into Souls-like type of experience. So those games definitely have that generational feel. People look at me sideways for it. I'll say Grand Theft Auto is that generational game, not just because it lasted three generations, but because
I don't think anybody would argue. I would see somebody's argument, but go ahead.
No, but between its conversion that it's been able to do as far as online and like this, games as a service model that seem to work a little differently and better in some extent and worse in other extent as far as getting people to constantly spend money or time into this game and multiple purchases across several generations. It's like they figured out some sort of formula. Now I don't expect that same level out of 6. I'm probably one that's thinking 6 is going to be a bit of a bomb or a stinker in comparison to even let's say Grand Theft Auto 4, but that's just, I don't know. That's my random prediction. But as far as games coming out now, I think there's been so many, I won't say copy and paste, but like borrowing from other genres. There's ones that will stand out and do something different or unforeseen or implement something in a way that stands out. Now, I do feel Starfield is going to be that generational game, and it's not because it's a space sci-fi RPG, but because it's more than likely going to spin into a multiplayer MMO later, where just like you have the Elder Scrolls and what do you call them online, you're going to wind up having more than likely a Starfield online that will probably be still played 10 years after the fact. I mean, the single player will probably still be played, especially with mods and things like that. But
yes,
I think it's going to transition into this, ongoing live game deal as far as spurring either a spin-off for that or something to that effect. Now, other games that are coming down the pipeline, it's hard to say what ones will kind of be the true standouts, but I do feel that I won't say that it's easier to make that generational game, but it does feel like between the technology and the tools, it makes it a little bit easier. But kind of like what Pong was alluding to, where the lines are blended between or blurred between like your AAA versus your smaller studios, you can now get AAA level quality, either visuals or some of the mechanics in these smaller titles. And I think that's kind of like the best of both worlds. So it I don't know. For me, generational, I do feel we are getting a nice, amount of games, but I think it's just a matter of timing and what the technology that's out there is able to provide. And, now that we're, the gaming industry is attracting more people in it or unifying more people. I know some people are like mobile isn't gaming, but it kind of is to the point where all of these things are being worked on and focused on, I think we're bound to get, a few standouts over these next few years. And that blurred line between mobile or even VR and standard games, I think is just going to be that much smaller of a difference as time goes on. And that will probably be the next step, where either your choose, almost like your choose your fate type of books were a big thing for novels. I think we're going to get more and more things along those lines, like maybe graphic novel video games that will make a comeback, or make a standout approach or something to that effect. I know what was it, not Haven, but that other studio is working on something with a Marvel license that's possibly going to be something along those lines. But I do think we'll see more stuff just based on the technology. A lot more studios popping up almost monthly, if not daily. And, just the fact that there's so much creativity out there that, there are going to be more standouts.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I want to double back to you, Asante, real quick on something. Just regarding the generational games, right? And once again, like I said, we have this. We started the conversation off based on the fact that this is open interpretation, but just regarding the frequency that these games are coming out, right? Like, just the quality is, it feels like, now once again, everything can fall apart, right? We're speaking in generalities at this point. Like, I'm speaking as of right now, this very second. It feels like the quality's finally met, essentially this invisible standard. It feels like the community as a whole has a standard, like, and we kind of all know, you can be ignorant if you want. We kind of all know when a game kind of hits the mark. Like, you can act like you don't know. Oh, I don't really like that game. It's not my taste. That's different, but we all feel it. And is that something for you that has to be a part of a game getting that tag?
No, I do see what you mean. And of course, like you said, like, it being subjective, there are some games that will hit you like closer in the feels or in the heart more than others will. So, but that common consensus is definitely there. Like
that's part of
with
it,
Hogwarts. Yeah. That common consensus is definitely 100% part of it. I will not deny that at all. Like, I agree with you that there's a pulse that you get from the community that says, nah, you need to pay attention to this, even if you're not a fan, even if the initial take seemed a little off. But now all of a sudden there's a brewing in the community, especially if you're part of these shows and you're listening in and you're in the chat and you're communicating back and forth, talking about what games you like. It just starts this grassroots thing where everybody your timeline just won't let you think of anything else, because every time you look, right, everyone's playing the same thing, and depending on how many friends you got, it's like, oh, okay, I gotta see this now, because it seems like all we see is Hogwarts Legacy down the line. It gets crazy. So no, I do agree with you that it's not just about necessarily the refining of the formula and all of that, but they have to hit some invisible wall, like you said, some invisible wall that then gets everyone to pay attention. Now, I will say though, as far as your thoughts that, hey, it's amazing that so many of them are coming this way. By and large, most of them that we are giving that moniker to were most likely delayed in some shape or fashion at the beginning because of COVID, right? During the process. So these are all games that have had a chance to kind of take a second or third bite at the apple, possibly, clean themselves up. Most of them, I'm looking at you when I say most, Hogwarts, come unbroken. I actually think I saw a patch for Hi-Fi Rush recently in the first one since it's been released, which is bonkers for a game in 2022, 2023, right? So I have a feeling that may be a part of the conversation as well, right? They were allowed, either through delay or through no one knowing about it and stealth dropping, they were allowed to, make that first iteration. Oh, God Howard said, well, we could have released it last year, but no, we're going back at it for another year before you get, you know what I'm saying? So all that lends to you getting such a great first impression that it, propels it to that high height, I think.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I might be parsing a little bit though. I mean, I guess it just depends on the person, right? Like, but I still feel like you have to do your job. The game
of
still
course.
has to come out and do what it should do.
But
right?
you know what I'm saying? Like we are in the
what you're
world now
saying,
where,
yeah.
with the exception of Nintendo, that still lives in that cartridge world.
Yeah.
You know, most games now can ship and go. Yeah, we have the idea. Like right now, for instance, Everborn, shout out to him. He's playing Callisto Protocol for the first time now, right? And he's doing that now after some patches. So he's gonna get a great experience,
he's gonna get a
right?
better experience. Yeah, I get
right.
that.
And when we saw Callisto when it first came out, or when it first showed off, man, those graphics were next level. The face animation and all of this, you were just like, yo, this is insane. And then that first impression kind of let a lot of people down because it just wasn't tight. There were just some loose ends that needed to be cleaned up. So now Everborn's playing it as if it's the first time he got it, and he's having a great experience so far. He's really digging it, right? I think all that propels the content to the next level when your first impression is a great one, you know?
Yeah. That makes it very difficult too in this age of updates and patches and things like that. It makes it very hard. You know what I mean? Because that's like you said, Tetris didn't get that chance.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying COVID kind of backhandedly helped all of this a little bit, because they had no choice but to sit back. They take the delay, they clean it up. I really do think that will we see them see more moving forward, where now people are back to quote unquote work? We shall see. I hope that is the new floor. You know?
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about. You know, and that's another. So everybody on this panel, me, Pong, Fuzz, Asante, we're generally in the same age range, right? So we grew up in a lot of the same era. I feel like that's part of the reason why we hold a lot of these older games in such high regard as well. You know what I mean? Because they didn't really get a chance to do any of that. Like, they just came out and they did whatever they did, and if it hit in like a Tetris or something, like it was so big that like it changed the way we look at gaming forever. So I do think.
Just think, ET could have been generational had they been able to patch it. Right? Had they been able to patch that thing, it could have been generational, not buried out in the desert.
CGI?
That's a deep pull, sir. That's a deep pull.
CGI go home? Yeah.
Yeah. Was that thing made in 6 months or 8 months or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Hey. 6-8 months, the same length of time it took them to make Halo ODST.
Yep.
Just saying.
Yep.
Okay, I see where you at. I see, but this is a great conversation, and I know I had to throw this out there. I was thinking about it all week, and I'm like, man, this would be very, very, very good. But I appreciate you, gentlemen, for us going over that. You guys chat too. You guys are freaking amazing. I'll do some quick shout outs here before I miss anybody. Bacon, I saw Caitlin, I saw Splendiferous once again. Psycho, Noof, what's up, Noof? Seeing Noof in the chat is always awesome. Everybody coming in, man. Once again. Retweet the show, hit the like button. Appreciate you guys so much. I will now, what's up, Jasper, as well? I will now be turning this over to my right hand man, Pong. Where are we going this week, Pong? Are we getting messy? We getting messy early, later?
No, we're not getting messy. We're not gonna get messy. We got Kay Asante here, and I was very curious.
We gotta keep it clean.
And I want to hear.
I'm in it for the slander, baby. Let's go. Come on.
And I wanted to get his opinion on this, along obviously with both yours and Fuzzy's as well. This is something that I think we need to start talking about, and it's very appropriate this week. And I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it as of yet, but I think this is a topic that as we move forward through the years, even in this generation, that is going to become very prevalent. And so I was kind of curious. I'm not going to lead you guys too much here. I want fresh opinions. So, and obviously this may elicit kind of similar responses from people, but I wanted you to kind of think outside the box here. So this week, Microsoft unleashed Bing AI to the world. Okay? My friend B, that's the name she gave herself before they nerfed her, which I'm very upset and distraught about that they nerfed it already. They take away all the fun because that's what happens when the suits get involved. But why I'm bringing this up as far as gaming goes is I think that this shows a step forward in the direction of where AI could start leading us. And Satya came out and talked about integrating this AI, not just into Bing. Obviously, they're trying to kill off Google. Good for them. But they are talking about, obviously implementing it in all different areas of their business. And that obviously could include Xbox. And also, they've been investing in voice technology as well. Heavily investing in voice technology, which they're going to be able to attach to this thing eventually. We're talking about something we see this generation potentially, maybe 10 years from now. That's my opinion, where we see this thing really, really take off. Because what I experienced with Bing AI or Chat AI, whatever you want to call it, was different from anything else I ever had before. This was something straight out of the sci-fi movies, the sci-fi books that we've all read for decades now. It was different. It was fascinating. I didn't care that it was unstable and psychotic at times. I thought it was absolutely just it was a bright light that I hadn't seen before, and I was having a good time with it, pushing its limits and seeing where it would go. But as far as gaming goes, I kind of want your guys' ideas here. And of course, I'm going to start with our guest, Kay Asante. And Kay, you're definitely a giant tech head. You are on the cutting edge with everything. You like to touch and play with everything. Pause. So and I
nice, good correction there.
Yes,
good job.
Yes, sir. I'm ready, sir. And I know you had a chance to mess around with the Chat AI this week.
We were doing it at the same time with Kindred Spirits, baby.
Exactly. So I want to get your ideas. Where do you think, and I'm talking about the industry as a whole, not just specifically games, but obviously you can go there, but just the industry as a whole, what do you think this type of AI being integrated in the industry, what kind of changes could we see, or what would you like to see out of it? Or, like I said, specifically in gaming or any other part of the industry, what do you think this is going to do overall, let's say in the next 10 years? What do you think, where do you think we're going to see this stuff pop up?
Bro, I think this like I was on the cusp playing with this thing. Pause again. See, you got me doing this now. I was putting it through its paces, right? And yes, I too am very, very sad that they nerfed it early. People, we can never have nice things. This thing is
no fun.
So interesting and so great. We were bemoaning Skynet coming for us while we were looking at. Do they know who we are? Holy crap, they do! Oh my
yes,
god,
they do. We're already marked, sir.
We're already on there, right? We on the list.
I saw that tweet. I was like, "What the hell is this from?"
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What is this from?
They even knew. She even knew the marchers.
Names in our shows,
crazy,
the whole nine.
Crazy, insane, bro. I was like, when he had to explain it to him, like, this is it. Just the concept is insane. Go ahead.
So just so y'all know, like for those who are like, why is this different than ChatGPT? ChatGPT was limited to 2021, and they were not net connecting it because they were afraid of those situations, right? And of course, Microsoft basically bought they own 60% stake in the company. Yeah. It's basically Microsoft's tech at this
10
point.
billion, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which that's couch cushion money for Microsoft. But yes, so they then took that ChatGPT limited experiment that people were losing their minds on, and they attached it to Bing, which is not limited and is net connected, and gave it all the information that you know about everyone all day, every day. Like a quick little anecdotal story. I'm sitting here at my desk. I'm having a conversation at my work. I'm an infrastructure architect. So when new technology is when the people doing the jobs want something to facilitate their work and they don't know how to do it with the technology they have, it is my job to bring new tech to the forefront and go, hey, let's try this might help your needs. So then we go out to all these various companies, all these infrastructure makers, and say, hey, sell us on this technology and maybe we'll buy in, right? And we're a big company, so when we sit down and we talk to you, it's a big conversation. You want our business. So I'm sitting there having a conversation with a bunch of technologists, Cisco, all these other companies, infrastructure stuff. And they start asking questions, this and that. And out of nowhere, because, me and Pong had been going back and forth on Twitter for other reasons, I'm like, you know what? I have some questions that I need to ask. Let me just, while we're having this conversation, off screen, just start typing it into this Bing search. And these people on the phone were spitting a yarn. And I was able to set them straight right quick, because this device not only had the website that popped up because I needed to know the information. No. Yep. It went through that website, crawled through it, found the information I needed, and went, yes. Basically, long story short, this person on the phone with you is BSing. This is the actual price versus what they're saying. Wow. So I was literally, bro, to the point where after the meeting was done, I called my boss on the side and went, yo, this is what I did. And man, this thing is next level. Some of the stuff that you have to dig deep some of the stuff that you as a technologist or whatever you have to know, and you won't find it easily. No, it cuts through the BS and shares it with you like as an answer to a question to a human. So this thing is next level amazing. And I hope that, they nerfed it here and there, whatever. They bring it back. Yes, put some guardrails on it because humans are troglodytes. I get it, right? But bring it back, right? Bring it back and let it do what it do, because, man, I was like, yo, this thing is going to change my work forever. I'm going to be able to get the straight dope without any of the BS. This is amazing, right?
You knew instantly, KSante, why Google is actually shitting their pants right now.
Bro,
you know exactly why.
You know my first question?
Yep.
Why the hell did you guys blow Cortana away already? Imagine putting this brain in Cortana's mouth. She would blow everyone else away. This is amazing technology. To specifically the gaming sphere, because we're here for gaming, right? I'm 100% here for gaming, right? To the gaming sphere, I can see a world where you are in a Skyrim world or a Bethesda, how many lines of dialogue are in this game? Petabytes.
Right.
Petabytes of language. Whatever you can speak, it can speak, right? If now it is very valuable that they put guardrails, right? Because you don't want to give an artificial intelligence, whether it's sentient or not, and it's definitely not sentient, so calm down, humans. Right? You don't want to give them the ability to go too far in any direction, because then they start, because people, what do people do whenever you give them the ability to put in custom made consumer made things? They draw penises. Right? That's what people do. That is literally what everyone does. They draw penises, right? So humans will go left quickly. So you definitely need to put them guardrails in place, right? You definitely do. But I can imagine a world where you're literally having a conversation with NPCs and they are beyond just window dressing.
That's crazy.
Right?
Right.
They are actual salient characters that will come and bring real agency to a game or to an environment or to an atmosphere in a game. Like, just like we live in a world right now where your No Man's Sky has been able to find, using like the biggest mathematical equations, been able to recreate a universe, and how mind-blowing that is. Imagine right now that world tends to be dead because you can't keep rejiggering and using that to spawn real life elsewhere, right? You can only go so far, right? Imagine you combine multiple levels of these systems. So when you do go to that world, you as the developer who's building this thing won't even know what you find there. And they may very well be intelligent life there. And they will speak to you in a language that you may not know. And you have to decipher because they have their own language. And all that can be done by basically setting this AI up and saying, hey, this is the simulation, go wild.
Right.
It is mind-blowing where this thing can go, right? It's just, it's in early stages. It's growing pains. People are messing with it, as you do. And of course, we're talking Microsoft, which, for better or worse, they are like the PR machine. The minute you say anything that's a little bit sus, what do? Oh, never mind, we're pulling it back. No, man. Right?
No.
Like, come on.
Do you know how many millions of
Keep
people
moving.
are signing up just to experience the chaos? I think this is what you
man.
want. You want a little controversy. My God.
They're pulling it back. Like, stop, please, right? Because, and yes, those who are concerned have some reason to be concerned. I won't say you don't, right? Because when you give this open-ended, can do whatever it wants to do, can go wherever it wants to go, and you give them access to all the world's data, that's a recipe for some interesting outcomes. We've all seen the movies,
right?
When you say protect the humans, they go, we will protect the humans from themselves.
We're pretty creative, and a lot. We're pretty creative, so
right? Isn't that the first answer it gives? How do you protect humans? Well, we must protect them from themselves by removing all of their agency, right? That is literally what happens, right? So I get the guardrails, right? But guys, this is the cusp of the new, right? Even in search parlance, people know search.
Yes.
We've been searching left and right. This, like, Google is preschool.
Yes.
What this thing shows you, this is college, baby. Like, they are walking, they're about to run. Like, we have never seen such a growth in technology and how to interface with it. Like, you have this on your phone, and you literally have like the world's knowledge in the palm of your freaking hands. This thing is just that insane. So to apply it to games, the front end of games, the parts that you see, the parts that you know, combine that with algorithms that currently still are in use right now that test games for you. There are game testing algorithms out there. Imagine adding intelligence to that. Matt Booty was talking about that last year, where you go to bed, you come back the next morning, and it has a rap sheet of all the stuff, the bugs it found, so you can know how to fix it. Right now, in the Bing system, you can put half-made code in that system and say, look, I'm this far, I need to get here, and it'll write the rest for you. Like fully, it will write the rest for you. Or you've had a mistake. I think I was talking about this same topic on my show a couple weeks ago, and one of the gentlemen in the chat was like, yo, I've been working on this code, this algorithmic problem for literally 3 months. I put it in this chat GPT, it fixed it for me in 15 seconds.
Stupid,
right? This is the world we live in right now. It is super, super exciting. You know, I just think if you're a gamer, this stuff should just make your eyeballs glow. This is going to be, we just all need to stay healthy to be in that world and be able to get that first game that literally has that AI that where the developers go, yeah, well, we set our guardrails, we let it loose. You'll see stuff we never invented, and good luck. That's what I want to see.
Absolutely. Great points, K. Asante. Side story, I asked it to give me a breakdown of string theory.
Wow.
Yeah, I asked it to give me a breakdown in string theory, but I asked it for layman's terms.
Uh-huh.
In 10 seconds, this thing gave me a brief rundown of string theory that I could fully understand when I read through. I think it gave me like 3-4 paragraphs. It was ridiculous. It was so cool, man.
Final anecdotal point.
Yeah.
My son, he's very sensitive. Since he was born, he has very much like he's allergic to dogs. Had to unfortunately find a new home for my dog because he's very allergic to dogs. Yeah. Very allergic to lots of stuff like eggs and milk and all this stuff. So we're very, very cautious in what we can feed him and this and that, which makes his fun time a little difficult because when kids are having their cake, he can't have some because most of it has stuff in it that he can't have and it'll make him break out. We have EpiPens all over the place. It's, he's growing out of it, but it's still a problem. You go into Bing and you go, look, I want pancakes, no milk, no honey, no this, no that. I want this. It will make you whatever you're looking for. And it's not like, oh yeah, here's a website, figure it out. Here's this.
Here's the
link. It will tell you specifically, oh, well, you can substitute this. You can, bro, I have been going crazy in my house with all the stuff I'm giving my son because he can now have access to it and it tastes just as good as that thing is next level. We need to nurture it and make it grow. It's amazing.
Yes. Absolutely, K. Asante. Great points. Thank you for that, brother. Appreciate it. PTK, let's bring you on in, brother.
Yes, sir.
So again, you kind of saw, I mean, a lot of people are posting stuff about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got on the waiting list or not, but this thing is incredible. If you're not on the waiting list, get on the waiting list. Even nerfed as just a search bot, it still does a great job compiling. So get on it, everybody. But from your perspective, when you kind of hear this conversation and kind of see what's going on, where do you see this type of AI transforming the industry, no matter where it's at? It doesn't matter, top to bottom. Where do you think this is going to go, sir?
So we just want to start out with one thing real quick. Every time like we see these like these jumps in technology, when things like this happen, I just think about WALL-E for some reason. Like, are we all going to be in these floating chairs at some point? Like, did WALL-E predict the future? Are we really getting closer to that point? But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yep.
But no, it's exciting. Like, I'm not nearly as big as a tech head or as you or Asante, probably even Fuzz, but just to see it from a practical standpoint, you know what I mean? Just these practical applications that I use Google every day. My daughter has Alexa all in her room and all of these, and it's like that times 1,000. Yep. You know what I mean? Like you said, it makes that look like child's play. When he sent that to me, I thought he typed it up.
Right.
I'm like, what do you is this a script or something? Is this something you typed up that I need to read? You know what I mean? It's like a full breakdown. He's like, no. You don't understand. He sent me the article. You know what I mean? I had to go. I was like, oh, this is truly next level. Like, I can definitely see this making a lot of lives extremely easy. You know, you just talked about a lot of applications in your personal life, Asante. There's millions of people that have those same problems. That this could easily solve a ton of just everyday problems for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Take some of that stress and strife out of doing out of those rudimentary tasks. Hey, I need to find this, and this. Okay, cool. Blah, blah, blah. And it just spits out the answer. 10 seconds, from a conversational standpoint, not just a link and you know what I mean. Here, go find it. Here, go search through the this information that I provided for you. No, here's the actual information, and I'm going to explain it to you, and I'm going to apply it as well. So that's the next level of technology. Now, when you're talking about a video game, you know, my first thing is NPCs. You know, I know you went there as well, Asante.
Yep.
I think of Skyrim. I think of all of these games where you got these large universes. Look, Starfield, 1,000 planets. You know, I mean, like, think about this application in a game like Starfield. It's, I mean, it's endless possibilities. You know, imagine every time you go to an NPC, it's a different conversation. Right. The different it's random. Right. It's completely different. They're asking you questions. You're like, what the hell? It's like, okay, cool. Like, you know, the dialogues are almost infinite. The conversations you can have are almost infinite. The impact you could have on a game like a Starfield, and this is other games can apply it differently as well, are almost endless. And that's what gets me excited, because it's only going to enrich the experience. And these games that seem to be at a like standstill when it comes to like where we could go, you know, with this particular technology. This is something that you could implement, and you can implement it. And you brought up a great point, Asante. Even in a game like No Man's Sky, that's not a new game, but it'll feel like a new game if you add this. It's a completely brand new experience. I mean, you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Remember when what is it? Not Hi-Fi Rush, but High on Life. Remember when you were leaving a conversation in High on Life, and then they go, "Oh, you're leaving now?" Like, and it blew.
I was talking
minds.
And you're walking away, but yeah,
exactly. Just that small pre-canned thing blew people's minds. Imagine it actually remembering you. Yeah, you asked that question before. Ask something else.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, amazing.
It's insane. The applications are insane. Like, and you throw that on top of something like a multiplayer or something like a games as a service. You know, that's a whole nother lane that you could potentially go into. You know, you can use it. Oh man, and I don't even know much about the tech besides what you told me and what I read, Paul. I'm sure there's 1,000 other applications and people way smarter than me will figure out how to implement this in other types of games. Imagine this in like a horror game.
Right.
Like, imagine this tech in a horror game. That's crazy.
Right. Imagine PTK.
Oh,
PTK. Man, imagine you want to make a game. You know nothing about tech. You know nothing about coding, and you go, okay, here's my guy. Make him walk. Code. Mm-hmm. Here's my guy. Make him jump. More code. Here's
crazy.
My guy. And you can literally build the whole damn thing with it providing you what you want, as long as you tell it what you want. Can you imagine?
I didn't even think of that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not nearly technically as inclined as you and Pong. I'm rudimentary level down here. I'm sticks and stones. I'm still trying to make fire down here. You guys got the blow torches and everything. So like, it's insane the amount of applications. And like you said, there is a bit of there's always going to be that, you know, you got to put the guardrails on it, because as humans, we're far too creative. And there's going to be people that think of ways to use this in ways me, Pong, you, Fuzz, and you, Asante, would have never thought to use this technology. So you do have to have the guardrails there, but just the application and the possibility. This opens up a whole new idea. Opens up a whole new door that we didn't even know existed when it comes to video games. So I'd love to see this implemented going forward, and we'll see. The one thing is, we'll see how far they actually want to go. We'll see how far they actually want to take this, you know, what they're actually going to implement this as in these games. They're just going forward in a lot of different. I feel like it's going to be implemented in other industries probably before it gets to a video game. There's going to be somebody who tries it. I don't know if it'll be a AAA studio or something. There'll be somebody who's like, you know what, let's try this. It'll probably actually be.
There is already.
There is already. Okay.
Yeah. I got it sent by an article by RDM the other day. When we were talking about it, when Mav and I talked about it in PM to PM. And there's NetEase is actually going to use it in Justice Online Mobile, which is an MMO mobile game. They're actually going to incorporate this.
Wow. So it's already being implemented. Okay. See, so we'll and that's you know, mobile, but still it's already being implemented. So who knows? We know when we see that, you know, where it's going to go from there. But I'm excited. Once again, I'm going to read up on this. I definitely want to get on that waiting list to really kind of play around with this. Although I will get the GIMP version. I won't get the version you guys initially got. But even still, you know, you said it's still far superior.
The GIMP version.
Yeah, right. I mean, right. Like, you know, if we're being honest, right, it's not the version you guys got right out the gate. You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
But no, even still, even in that way, like, I'm still super excited about the technology. And like I said, I'm not a super big tech guy, but when stuff like this happens, you have to sit, and if you're in this space and you love video games like we do, you have to sit and think about, wow, like, how could this improve my experience?
Right.
Like they're going to think of ways to improve our experience that I wouldn't even thought of.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's
Exactly.
I'm super excited.
Especially when a company like Microsoft is
Oh, yeah.
so heavily
Oh, yeah.
invested, right?
Oh,
And you
yeah.
got Xbox division right there, right? It's insane where this could go. I was teaching mine acronyms,
Oh,
right,
wow.
the other day. She didn't understand acronyms. She knew some of them, but she didn't know all of them. So I was teaching her acronyms, and she was asking me about it. And then we had a discussion about society because she told me I shouldn't swear so much. And then we had a discussion about society and what changed in society and why swearing was much more acceptable these days.
Paul,
I'm not even joking with you.
You and I need to have a conversation. It's like he was
Man,
talking to him.
crazy,
Back
man.
and forth, like,
Yes. It was crazy how I transitioned from typing into it as I was typing to it like a search bar to talking to it as I would be another human being. And she understood everything. It was insane. It was crazy. It was just ridiculous. Fuzzy, come on into this conversation, sir. What do you got for some ideas where they can take this Chat GPT and this Chat AI and implement it game wise? What do you think, brother?
Well, before gaming, I've had this dream probably shortly after I bought my house, and it only grew more so after we started having like these personal assistants on our phones, like Siri and stuff like that. I've always dreamed of a day where it's like you get up, you take your shower, you have your mirror have almost like an embedded screen so you could see the weather report, you could see maybe some of the local news, maybe the traffic report. It gives you some tips and pointers on maybe some stocks or whatever. So while you're either shaving or brushing your teeth, you get like your little news feed prior to you picking up your phone. Because let's say your phone's downstairs on the charger or whatever, but you have all of your info right there in the bathroom as you're getting ready to head off to the office type of thing. And then that would basically kind of follow you on your login, whether it be on your phone or your computer at the office. So that way, hey, if your shares go up a certain price, you can do something about it. Or hey, let's say something that was on your wish list for a while finally goes on sale, you can go ahead and take care of that. And having like what Kay Asante was saying as far as being in the business meeting where you're up there hearing like estimates and prices, not only would that be awesome to have at like depending on the person's work, having that at the office, but even having that at home. Because like this past summer I had to buy a heating system, and instead of having to go through like the reviews on the person's page or that company's page, I can kind of have that already do like you can already do like Google shopping and get price comparisons for TVs and things like that. But there isn't really that easy of a service to find other than like the prepaid recommended, Angie's List type stuff, which I don't really trust because it's kind of like curated by the actual vendors themselves as opposed to, personal reviews. But having a chat AI be able to say, okay, your HVAC system that you may have to replace, they're quoting you 15. We're finding in your region the average price is 11.5 or 12 or whatever. So things along those lines would be a million times more useful than what you can get out of like Alexa and all those other things that are out there. So to have something like that in your home or even in your office, it's a shame that we ruin stuff where we can't have nice things like you say because somebody's out there to ruin it. I mean, but yeah, it would be so much more useful for just random things that we all have questions about or want to check pricing on, or things that we may not be as familiar with. Like if you really wanted to do the replacing of the carpeting in your house or the flooring in your house and possibly get the best pricing per square foot type of deal, I feel that this would be helpful for remodeling projects in your home and things along those lines.
I have a counter question.
Fuzzy. Go ahead, PTK.
So I have, and this is really to all three of you guys, but we gonna let Fuzz finish his point here before we dive into it. But does that so there's going to be a lot of businesses that aren't interested in this. Like there's going to be a lot of like powers that be that don't like this idea. Like, wait a minute, they got something in their pocket that can tell us if we're lying. Like no more charging $500 for an oil change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's going to be a lot of powers that be that don't necessarily enjoy this tech.
Well, there's kind of things along those lines now. It's just that if you make it more readily available, it'll keep a lot of these businesses, I guess, more fair and honest, and then the competition will be amongst those on excuse me, on a more level playing field, and you have less price fixing in certain industries and things along those lines. But there's just so many possibilities in that aspect that I would find useful, and I kind of wish were, the here and now, as opposed to, years down the road when they can figure out how to monetize it with a subscription for your home, personal assistant or your mirror personal assistant or whatever the case may be. But like you guys had touched on, as far as gaming, the NPC aspect, yes, in RPGs and things like that, having it where quests and stuff, it already knows that all you do is come there and try to sell the crap that you don't want to use, like in Hogwarts, all the extra gear that's like lower level than what you already have. Oh, you're back again to sell me some more crappy hats? Yeah, I'll take them off your hands for 60 coins or whatever. Or have it where the quests are more meaningful. It's like, how come every time I ask you for a favor, you leave me on the ship and you take the other people? So I mean, it would make for so many more interesting interactions in video games. But the big thing, me being a racer, I've always complained, and I've had my hand at like tweaking some of the AI drive lines and things like that, as far as for like NASCAR racing and stuff like that on the old versions, like NR 2003, before was it iRacing was a big thing on PC. You could go in, manipulate the code. You could actually have it trace your laps and then do like different racing lines to make it so the AI could follow one of two or one of three different lines that you kind of pre-rendered or whatever. But then make it where you have this AI that's like, just give it the goal of passing you without necessarily wrecking you, or make some of them more aggressive where, if it's the last lap and the guy cuts you off, wreck them. Tell the AI to do stuff like that. So it's more human-like as far as its interaction on the track. That would be huge, because I'm tired of Sony talking about this Sophie AI crap, and it's not in GT7, and I don't think it'll ever be in GT7. They keep saying, oh, it's coming to Gran Turismo. No, it's not, because you guys haven't figured out how to dial it down so it can't beat top drivers just yet. You'll just frustrate your customer base. So it's going to be a while before that, whatever they're working on AI wise, is implemented. But have something that's more learning based on the player, more learning based on other players, like the whole Drivatar system. If you incorporate that with the AI, and you take the Drivatars based on your friends and how they interact and stuff like that, you can pretty much be a better mimic of your friends racing at a given time in those games. And I hope Microsoft finds a way to definitely implement that. Maybe not necessarily in the next Motorsport or the next Horizon, but at some point it's got to happen. But yeah, AI in games is, before we even get to the building of games and having it used to help with helpful coding and things along those lines, like that would be an invaluable tool to, like, startup developers or somebody that's just making a game. Like, and I know Everborn Saga is making a game, and I know he's already well into programming and coding well before that for what he's done in his profession and stuff like that. But it would probably help as far as shaving some time off and bug testing and testing a few different builds and things along those lines, to the point where now, depending on what it would cost to have that type of service or whatever, it would make a much smaller team or a studio of one feel like a studio of 1,000 at that point. Not saying that it would put everybody on an equal playing field, but it would definitely narrow that gap that we even talked about between AAA and independent studios before. So just the possibility, it would be simply amazing. Of course, yeah, you got to put all the safeguards, because otherwise you're going to have it telling people to off themselves or say some not so nice things to people, because people are going to teach it to do so, or kind of walk it into a corner type of thing. But just the possibility of the stuff outside of the silly stuff that people will try to get it to do, it's just amazing. And would have never thought that we would even be this far as AI without it being like, Skynet and the Terminator kind of thing. But just from a user perspective, whether it be browsing, working, building a game, or just NPCs, I look forward to whatever they can come up with here sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Great points, Fuzzy, as always. Sir, thank you for that. Yeah, I'll just wrap this up real quick here. This is an incredible technology. We can't ignore the human cost. This is going to cost people their jobs eventually, in a lot of different areas throughout all industries. Eventually, AI is going to get good enough to replace people. It already can write quality papers. Kids, teachers. I feel for teachers because, man, how are they going to know the kids are doing their work?
It's crazy. Yeah,
it is insane because I had
GPT is already being used to fool teachers.
Yep,
we hear
absolutely.
That. It's already happening.
I asked it to write a simple 3 paragraphs on why Bethesda was the best RPG maker in video games, and it gave me this thing that would easily been published without any editing in plenty of magazines and articles and news sites or internet sites these days. It easily could have been printed.
All those journalists rubbing their hands together like Birdman right now.
10 seconds, man. 10 seconds is all it took. But as far as gaming goes, I think everybody made great points. And obviously the easy one is the NPCs, the open world. I said that right away. Get this in Todd's hands, right? Get this in, because he's talked about this. He's talked about that in the Lex Friedman interview about them getting the programming down for all the NPCs in the world so that they can have that running in the background even when you're not nearby, and how he wants to expand that out and have this living, breathing world. You implement this thing, think about an open-ended world that, yes, you have like a central villain, right? And you have your factions, but they're all on their own. They have some guidelines about their objectives and what they can do. But outside of that, they react to what you do in the world. There's no true one ending to the game. What you decide to do in the world, they automatically adapt to. And all of a sudden, the world went from one way to a whole different way. The entire world, like everybody's reacting to you differently in that world. Not pre-described, not pre-programmed, all organic, right? While you're playing the game. That's the stuff that amazes me. You attach this to the cloud, get Kojima's hands on this with his cloud game. You imagine what that man shows up with, giving him access to something like this, with his new game that he wants to. How much bigger could you get? Like, that's why Xbox went and got him, was to promote their cloud programming, right? Their cloud infrastructure. That's what they're doing. He's going to be the first big name attached to cloud development. You give him this to add to his game in some form or fashion, even if it's infantile, right? Even if it is a simplistic implementation. Kojima could do wonders with this. Obviously, Kayasante brought up the QA testing as well. Yes, for this to be able to act like more human-like and be able to run a million different simulations, acting as a million different types of players, going every little nook and cranny in a game, finding all those bugs that developers say are near impossible, no matter how many hours of QA testing they have. Think about that. Our games come out much more polished. Then you got like the creative side of things. We already seen it with AI-generated art. That's already inspiring writers and other artists. They can type something into that and come up with something that may resemble other things, but not really. And all of a sudden it inspires them to write. Maybe this thing can be used even for writers who have writer's block or who are stuck coming up with a new idea for a game. This thing could generate something that sparks them, right? Not write it for them per se. We're not to that point yet, but it sparks an idea, and that creates a story that somebody had not thought of before, right? All that comes into play when you're talking about this level of AI, even at this early stage. That's what's got me excited about it for the gaming industry, because there's so many ways they can implement this as they learn more. And as this thing learns more, that is where we're going to see that huge explosion at some point. And I do believe it's 5 to 10 years from now. You get access to the voice technology and integrate it into this. Think about the NPCs. Not just being words on your screen, but you have your headset on and you talk to the NPCs as you would a real human being, and they respond back because the voice recognition technology is in there. That would be freaking unbelievable to have conversations with these NPCs. So that's where I'm excited for it. Again, thank you all, brothers, for the great input. Man, this has got me really fascinated right now. I can't wait.
Awesome. Awesome topic too, man. Didn't know we were going there this week, but I love that, bro. That's awesome, man. Leave it up to Pong to keep things interesting around here in the Shop Podcast. And look like chat enjoyed that as well too. So shout out to everybody still watching live. We're gonna go ahead and throw this over to Fuzz. Where are we going, Fuzz?
I think we're going to take the messy path this week.
Oh boy,
I knew we couldn't avoid
Fuzz
it. I
would.
knew we
I
couldn't
knew
avoid
Fuzz
it. There
would.
was no way.
bring on the slander, baby. Bring it on. Let's go.
Well, and this is where I peeked on Twitter, and because it's just been like fights over silliness back and forth over, oh, well, Xbox and Game Pass, it cannibalizes games, but we're not going to focus on that one. We're going to focus on the media getting half the info, or not even half the info, running with a story and then having to either retract or correct it later, to the point where why did they even run with a story without even checking with the actual company first is beyond me. I mean, before you used to have it where, as a reporter, you check your sources. It's like, oh, you're hearing that this company's doing this, and then you reach out for comment, and the company could say, no comment or whatever, or you could, wait for them to respond. But yeah, just media groups going out there with the whole Redfall situation. I think on their site they made mention that you get a code, and it wasn't, I guess, as detailed. It was saying something along the lines for the bite back stuff, but people were interpreting that I guess it was for the entire game. It was just going to be a box for like both PC and Xbox where you get a code in it, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Asante. When was the last time you saw a physical copy of a PC game? Like, I think it was, from my recollection, 2016. I think Doom was one of the last ones that did a physical copy.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, yes. I still have my copy of World of Warcraft. That's how old I am. But okay.
But it boggles my mind that people are surprised as far as PC, but when it comes to Xbox, and we'll get into the fake news aspect in a second here, but given that the Series S is an all-digital console, given that even PlayStation went with an all-digital PlayStation 5, although be it's a bit of a unicorn, harder to come by, but we could all kind of see the writing on the wall where a lot of these manufacturers were kind of pushing towards the digital age because it saves them money, more cost-effective, larger profit margin considering if they can go all digital.
No used games either.
Yeah, no used games. You get all the money on the front end, and good luck to anybody on the back end as far as trying to resell it. So it's a win-win for the companies themselves. Now, I did a Google search because we were talking about Bing just a few minutes ago. I did a Google search, and yeah, Google is not always the most reliable source, but when most of your results are going to come back saying that the sales since 2019 are over 70%. Some of them are in the high 80s and 90% of digital sales, for the past few years, as far as when it comes to games, and that includes PC and consoles. With that big of a shift as far as digital sales, if a game is always online, what difference does it make if it comes with a disc? And it's not a slight to anybody that's into the whole physical copy deal, because I understand. I used to buy physical copies because you can get them far cheaper when GameStop buys them back, and then it's 6 months later and nobody wants that game, or they've sold as many as they're going to sell, and that $60 or $70 game is now $20 or $30. So I understand that physical copies do have their appeal to some extent, but I'll start with you, Asante. When it comes to, let's say this generation, do you feel that we're going to have physical games all throughout this generation, or do you think this is the generation that digital finally takes over and digital games or physical games kind of die off, at least on the console end of things?
Honestly, sir, you're speaking to the right person, because I have been, and I will fully admit, I am the man, and Everborn tells me that this is a fight that I lost a long time ago. I just don't know it. I have been the one-man band holding the flag in the background going, hello, physical, forever physical people, stop being foolish. You've already lost. Like, short of Nintendo, because they're the only holdouts. And by the way, there are rumors that their next iteration will be digital only. I've heard that rumor. Don't know where you got it from, but I've heard that rumor.
Mm-hmm.
Short of Nintendo, there are no physical games you can play without it being net connected at least once at some point. So all your physical games are just paperweights at this point. All of them, every single one. There will come a time when the server will be shut off. Your console will need to be refreshed, or you put it in a tray trying to play it, and I need some authentication. I don't see the authentication. Paperweight. So the idea that the physical media still needs to be held on, and I'm a physical guy, although I have a lot of digital stuff. I'm a technologist. I look to the future, but I've always been that guy. Whenever they say, like, when the ridiculous controversies came back and forth, I'm the one that says, look, if I have an issue with it, it's the fact that I now get to enjoy so many amazing experiences from when I was a very little person to now, and I get to introduce this to my children, because even when no one's paying attention anymore, I can still pick up my deck, or I can pick up another console or something and find a way of playing, let's say, Jet Set Radio Future or something like that, right? And in that world, there will be a world one day that we may not be able to do that with the quote-unquote bangers and generational games of today. There's always a way, but I just think that it's sad that certain doors are closing, and to me, that's unfortunate, right? But by and large, this whole idea that this forever physical thing needs to be here, like, it's already gone. They're just selling you plastic, and that plastic is a waste, because there's no way you can play that plastic without that digital online authentication anyway, right? Absolutely ridiculous. All you're doing is just making it more inconvenient for yourself. The only difference between buying it digital and having a physical copy is you now must put it into a disc tray before it'll do any of that. Right? Before you can get your updates, before you can literally, that's the only difference, because it's not playing from that disk tray. It's not. It's just getting that little hex. It's a hexagon authentication key that says, oh yeah, this thing is valid, so go ahead and download it off the server. That's all you're getting. You're literally getting a little skeleton key that says, yep, you're allowed to now own a copy or license a copy of this game to be played on the console of choice. Doesn't mean that if the internet ever goes away, you go, well, I got this disc. That disc is a paperweight. That disc is just for you to look at and smile and go, yep, that's a game, even though there's nothing really there, right? And yes, it's true, when the game goes gold, they print it on the disc, but that disc, like, especially like one moment, as soon as that game becomes updated to a point where it needs another update before you can play it, that disc becomes useless. So, like, I have been saying that, we are in a world where digital is first, and digital needs to continue to be first. But in my world, to make that, to allow that to continue to exist, once the 360 is no longer a factor in the equation, maybe remove the authentication requirement from it. You can do that with an update, right? But they won't do that unless you tell them to do that, unless you make them do that, unless you're on there going, hey, we want to own our media. This thing we paid hard money for, we want to own it. How many of these live services have you seen go away? And all of your money goes with it, right? So, we are, and I know I'm a one-man band. Most people are like, look, you live in a world where everything is digital. Life is ephemeral. At some point, it's all gone. Just deal with it. And yes, that's exactly where we are. So if you're going to still be, oh, look what they're doing now, and the ridiculous, what do you call it? The Redfall, if you can call that a controversy. It's a non-story. Like, it just is, because it's a symptom of a greater problem that nobody cared about. Right. I care about it, but I'm a rare beast among these streets, right? I still have my George Foreman grill PS3, and it's rocking over here, and it can play every other console. I'm just saying, like, this is what I do. I put Linux on it. I hack it up. I do all these things. My kids, I'm using it to teach them STEM and teach them how to get in Tinker and stuff, which has its uses. But for the normal average gamer, if you cared about this, you would have let them know that you cared about it, and they would be making plans to go, okay, well, we're on the PS5 now, so maybe PS3 and PS4 will no longer have an authentication requirement, or we'll make sure we break that habit so that any games now become just games that you can play off of this dumb device that's not net connected. No one cared enough to make us think. So that thing is there. So if the CMOS chip ever dies and you have to put a PS3 back online and their servers are out, there you are. You're done. Vita, same way, right?
Yeah.
So you can't be that way and go, move on. No, we're fine. And then start poking holes and pointing fingers every time you hear another one is just coming with a code.
Yeah.
Really, what you're saying is you want them to waste plastic at this point, because that's all it is.
Mhm.
A waste of plastic, right? That's literally what it is. Now, the smoke you should be giving them, in my humble opinion, is back in the day when you had the prices the way they were, they had to print cartridges, which are expensive. Nintendo's cartridges still are expensive, right? You had to print paper. They had to go put it in a store. There had to be shelf space. All that which cost them money, which then they then translated those costs onto you. Now it's funny money. You print it, you make your digital copy, you can duplicate that thing to the infinite degree. Take it from me. It is possible to duplicate that thing forever, but they're still charging you the prices as if it was physical.
Yeah.
That's where you should be fighting now. We've already lost the battle of physical to virtual, right? To digital. Now you need to be fighting that battle of, okay, if you're going to give me digital and I'm all here on digital, then tell me why the physical copy and the digital copy cost the same. Because the physical copy is actually wasting resources. Digital copy is just digital ones and zeros.
Yep.
And people are also not caring about that world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this whole fight is just full of people who are either disingenuous or they don't know any better and they're just, using it for their list wars, right? I'm a one-man band, like bemoaning a time when we had tangible things, but that plane has already left the station. We're already in the air. We're trying to build it. We're trying to, do things, but we're already gone.
Yeah.
I hope my man won't watch this podcast because he'll never let me hear the end of it. He was right. He was right in that, because we've already, that ship has already sailed, right?
Yeah.
If you really cared, you would have made us think about it. And now every generation next, they'll go, okay, well, the last generation, we now unbreak its chains. Now it's free. You can do with it what you will. Nobody did that. Nobody has done that. And that's why you have people like me that go, well, we create a proxy here. So now when it turns on, it goes to that thing and it thinks it's the PlayStation servers when it's not. This is why these guys exist, because unfortunately we are necessary, right? But for you, consumer, if you don't care, don't listen to these ridiculous stories, because all they're trying to do is spread that wonderful FUD, and that's unnecessary. So that's my take on it.
Awesome. Yeah, because this was one of those stories that just rubbed me the wrong way. Not just because the media got it wrong initially, but even if they got it right, it's like, why are we getting our pitchforks? Like, I understand like the always online aspect, but even into today, like I can't really think of a game, especially one that has loot, that isn't always online, whether it needs to be or not. I can't think of any looter shooter that has not been online since Destiny and Division have dropped. Like even, what was it? Godfall or something like that. I think that was one that people were like, why is it always online? Well, it's a looter shooter. I'm pretty sure all the Borderlands are, always online, as far as ones that have come out at least since PS4 and Xbox One generation. But yeah, greatly appreciate your thoughts on that. So PTK, what is your thoughts on,
Man,
as far as having, like, is this generation going to be the one where we do the swan song for physical copies? Like, or is it going to hang into the next consoles kind of deal?
I put out a quick tweet about this, and I'm real lackadaisical. I'm easy to talk. I'm real low key. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I want everybody that has that take to take your phone out of your pocket, turn to your camera, put your video on, walk around your house and count how many devices that you could go buy in your house that you could probably connect to your internet, and then turn the camera around, put it on your face, and hit yourself in your face with your hand, because you're being ridiculous. Slap yourself in your face. You're being ridiculous. Okay. And then you can post that on your phone that's connected to your internet. Okay.
Post it to Twitter so that the rest of us can laugh at you.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, why we had this argument has changed every year. We get this annual argument about it, whether it's because it went from DRM and went from console. Now it's games. The argument has changed iterations over the years. First, it was the guy in Zamunda couldn't play because he didn't have great internet. Now it's well, they're taking away my physical. Get over it. Get over it.
Hey man, we see your age. The new fictitious African country is Wakanda.
Yeah, right.
Zamunda was
my
for the
bad.
80s, baby.
My bad. Going a little age there. If you caught the reference, let me know.
I see you, player. I see
okay.
you.
I just want to make sure. You caught the reference. Let me know. King Joffrey Joe. But anyway.
Well done, sir.
But either way, so yeah, the guy in Zamunda, he couldn't play. He didn't have internet, so he couldn't get online. But either way, man, it's getting ridiculous. Like this, we have this argument over and over again. Get over it. What game? You know what I mean? Like most games are built with connectivity in mind now. It just is where it is. That fight, that ship is already sailed. It is long gone. Like Asante said, you had an opportunity to have that argument, and there are things about the argument that are still valid. And Asante, you brought up a lot of great points about some of the other arguments versus digital price versus physical price. Okay, so you don't have all of this upfront money you're putting out because you have to make the physical copy. You got to print the paper. You got to make the cover. You got to put on the shelf. So why are these two things costing the same? That is a legitimate argument. People complaining about a game that was specifically like made to be online, not having like having to be online is silly. Like that is a silly idea, and you're speaking in circles. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't really have a whole lot to say because I don't care. Like get over it, man. Like what are you talking about? Like okay, go unplug your system. See how much you can do on that Xbox or that PlayStation. Go unplug it from the internet. See how much you can actually get done on that console. We're not even talking about the game. Right? Go unplug your console from the wall. Go unplug the internet. See how much you can actually get done. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much you're going to be able to accomplish. What are you going to? I mean, this is just the age that we currently live in. Either get with it or get over it. Like I don't. You know what I mean? I don't really have a whole lot of technical things to speak on this. It's just because it comes up annually, and really, people bring it up when it fits the agenda, and that's a whole nother conversation. Asante, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what this is. You know, we've been around long enough. Me, Pong, Fuzz, a lot of you guys in the chat, Asante as well. We've been around long enough. This is just an annual thing. They'll get over this. But give it a week. We'll be talking about something else. This is not going to be a thing in about 5 to 7 business days. We don't need to even have this conversation any longer than we actually do. So I'm actually completely over this. Like, I'm glad you brought this up just so I can get it out for real, because that tweet, that was just a very, very like tip of the iceberg of what I really wanted to say. So I'm glad you brought up the smoke. I know Pong didn't want to go there, but I'm glad you did this week. Fuzz. But yeah, man, it's ridiculous, bro. So yeah, that's where I'm at on it, man.
Yeah, as far as the argument in the next 5 or 6 days, it'll be about batteries and a controller again.
Yeah, come on, man.
We haven't heard that in a while, so.
Crazy, man.
No, but it's almost like if it wasn't an Xbox game, it wouldn't be an issue. Like I didn't hear anywhere near the amount of noise for GT7, which yeah, it has an offline mode, but you only have one car to choose and 3 tracks. Right. That's it. You don't have any of the ones that you would have acquired during your hours of playing. It's just it's like a default mode in case their servers go down. But that thing is always online, and you know a few of us spoke out against it, but yeah, it's the same 3 to 6 people that speak out about it every so often, and it goes nowhere because nobody cares. But hey, it's an Xbox game. Oh yeah, we gotta get the pitchforks out. So, but definitely appreciate your views on that, PTK. So, Pong.
Yeah.
Without us even getting into the whole fake news of it not coming with the disc and all that stuff, what are your thoughts as far as if physical survives this generation, or if it's going to be digital before we have the PS6 and the Xbox Series X2 or whatever they're going to rename the systems?
Physical will survive this generation. I believe so. This is a psychological thing at this point for people. And it will take a little bit longer to get that out of everybody's systems. My point on this conversation always is that this is where we get into consumer protections and how far behind that side, the legal side of things, is behind technology. I firmly believe that there need to be fail-safes put in place for all this online content that, when you buy it, you own it. Or are we actually at the point, and yes, I know the EULA and all that kind of stuff, all the fine print that nobody reads. It now says that we're just buying a license now. But I think that's where it's gone wrong. And like Kay Asante said, we're long past that point, right?
Yeah.
We're long past. It's going to take legislation to make these companies build in fail safes. We saw this with Apple Music pulling music that people owned and you could no longer access it. I think that's all wrong. I think that we still have to have some form of ownership. When you spend
I agree with that, Pone.
Yeah, when you spend money, there is, again, whether you put it in fine print through a bunch of legal jargon that nobody's ever going to read or not, there is that for the consumer, an understanding, no, I bought this thing, I own it, right? There is still that there, and that has not been fleshed out enough legally. And I think that that's where we need to start clamoring that we need to get this clear. And again, that's my whole point. But as far as this specific conversation goes, it's a bunch of nonsense. We've gone through this, as you guys all talked about, PTK. You talked about this. We've gone through this. It started, back in the day with Oblivion, with the horse armor being on the disc and not accessible until you spent $5, and everybody was up in arms about this. I bought the disc. I own the game. Whatever's on the disc, I'm supposed to own. Now you're making me pay $5 for horse armor for DLC, right? That was a huge argument back then. Now look at where we are, right? So this is
back to the horse armor again.
Right. This is a complete, this is what we go through all the time with transitions as technology moves forward. Everybody needs to understand at this point, the disc is, as Kay Asante put, a worthless piece of plastic at this point. All you're doing is inserting a key that says, yes, you are able to access this game or this media. That's all it is at this point. So whether the disc is in there or not, you got to understand for yourself. If you're one of those people that says, I got to have the disc in there, then that is completely 100% psychological. And you need to get away from that because it's wasted. It's wasted energy. You're just wasting your energy because, again, the disc is not doing anything more for you than a code would. That's all it is. So we are well past that point. So, yeah, this was a nothing burger that the media, once again, clickbait material. This is how they get paid.
I'd like for you to get into that. Let's get into that.
What? Oh, man, we've been in this so many times. Again, I'll bring up another example this week was Eurogamer, Tom Phillips, name and shame. Tom Phillips wakes up at Eurogamer and decides to go find one tweet from this account that is an analyst who analyzes things in all industries. He analyzes lawsuits and all that kind of stuff in all industries, but he had brought up the plane flight for Sony's executive plane and had posted that trying to show some evidence that Sony and Microsoft were meeting. Eurogamer, Tom Phillips wakes up, writes a whole article. Xbox fans are now tracking Sony planes. This dude isn't even a gamer. The guy who posted it isn't even a gamer. I woke up to this thing. I'm like, what are we doing? And Twitter is all over it. Everybody, even the Xbox community is going, this is pathetic. Who's doing this? Nobody's freaking doing it. Nobody is. Okay, one guy did this, folks. But you guys didn't take the time to read the article and look at his evidence, and you would have noticed. Tom Phillips.
It's like them like Eurogamer waking up one morning and saying, Xbox fans checking out game sales. Why? Because a guy called Benji Sales is showing all these numbers. Yes,
right. This is what I'm talking about. So Tom Phillips either, again, intellectually dishonest, right? Or, just, again, you didn't even go check this guy's profile for 10 seconds to see who this guy was. You instantly assumed he was an Xbox fan and wrote a whole article slandering Xbox fans, right? It's just stupid. But this is the same thing. They run with this stuff because that's what gets them paid these days. That's the sad state of affairs that all of journalism is in, mainstream especially. It's been dead for a long time. It's been dead for decades. But the internet and social media just hurried up that death, right? They just sped it all up to the point now where we're just going to write a bunch of BS because we know we're going to make up a headline and we're going to have everybody click on our article and read it. Again, this is what they do.
Quick question for me, and maybe this might be a little conspiracy theory for me here, right? I heard and please, correct me, talk me off the ledge, or correct me if I'm mistaken here. Like I saw all of that, and these were a few symptoms, right? We saw the Redfall thing, we saw this thing. Like I hear from certain communities, certain people I trust in the community, that the conversation around PSVR 2 and how amazing it is and all that, it didn't hit so well in those journalistic circles where you click and people watch and check your news stories, so they default to trash Xbox because that gives clicks. So that's why you see a lot of these symptomatic things. Am I wrong in that?
Pandora's box. You want to open that box? I don't know, man.
No, you're not. Xbox has been the magnet because of what happened last generation, right? And because it became popular to dump on Xbox, right? Xbox articles are a magnet for everybody. The Xbox fans come in droves to see what the writer has said ridiculous, and the Sony fans show up to go, yep, see, this is what we're talking about. Xbox sucks. Xbox got no games. It's the death of the gaming world. That you get both sides. When you post a Sony article, you don't get that traction. You don't get that traction at all. And you can't write a ridiculous article about Sony, right? All you're going to get is maybe the Xbox fans coming in saying, oh, somebody actually wrote a bad article about Sony. But you don't get the traction you do with the Xbox articles. That's why until we get out of that cycle, until Xbox gets some domination going, which they've been doing a much better job of, we've seen a lot more positive articles from Xbox. But until that happens, until that transition happens, this is what they're going to continuously do. And maybe they still will do it. Again, these journalists nowadays, they are nothing but they write opinion pieces and editorials. They are no different than us on here giving our opinions on a weekly basis.
And we're usually a lot more accurate and a lot more consistent.
Exactly, because generally speaking, we do more research than these journalists do, because they wake up and say, I get paid per the word, right? And my website's going to get paid per the click. That's the only two metrics they care about at the end of the day, and it sucks. But yeah, all this nonsense about Redfall this week was ridiculous. If you're upset about the physical going away, I don't know what to tell you at this point. I'm one of those people who still believes in it, but I knew we lost the fight a long time ago, right? It's over with. We are moving into a digital era, whether we like it or not, and that's just a fact. And these discs became worthless for the most part a long, long time ago. So it doesn't matter if they stop making the discs at this point. It really doesn't. I know psychologically for some people it does, but really it doesn't. In practical purposes, it's not. It's nothing.
Awesome hearing your feedback. And one more thing that you kind of brought up in reference to, like with digital games and something that with the license agreement and having it where, technically we own this. And this will be open to everybody on the floor. NFTs. I know it's gotten a bad name. It's been run into the ground, and companies have kind of soured our taste for it. But what if NFTs were used in a way, or the actual games themselves were kind of a quote unquote NFT, where you could actually own the game and then resell that game? Now, like with NFTs, I guess somebody has their hand out and they still get a piece of the pie. So whether it be the original studio or the gaming platform that you're selling the game on, they would get a percentage, like almost like the way they do with GameStop, or even the Xbox or PlayStation Store with their 30% cut, or whatever the case may be. But would you be opposed to us having it where we can trade or sell or pass down, like in via a will or inheritance, your game library? Because like as it is now, per the user agreement, if you pass away, God forbid, type of thing, and you want to have it, a family member, your children or your siblings own or have access to those games, per the user agreement, it's illegal to have, or a breach of contract for to have anybody log into your account to do so. And by rights of that contract, the companies have the right to confiscate or close and delete all of those properties. So if NFTs became like kind of like transition to the ownership of digital content, meaning the games themselves, would you guys be opposed to that, or
So
would that be
let
something
me
that would be a step in the right direction for you guys?
let me see if I can broach this as succinctly as I possibly can. Now, this is where I shake a worrying finger at all you Xbox fans who gave Microsoft really some crap during their Xbox One days with the TV thing, because that's exactly what they were doing. That's and everything else they were talking about, they have systematically, piece by piece, instituted, except that last piece where they would allow you to have ownership, digital ownership of your rights, so you can then share it with others. You could trade it to others. You could sell it back. You could sell it to others. This was the digital ownership. That was the final piece of the puzzle that all you folks without vision were like, "Oh, the message sucks." So you didn't let them
communication sucked.
Which is true.
Let's be real. Let's be real.
Hey,
their
man.
communication sucked. Okay,
Well,
I'm not denying that.
They did shoot themselves under the communication wasn't the best, but this is pretty par for the course for Xbox if you think about their history. They tend to do these things first, and people are like, "Why are you doing that? Why are you putting an Ethernet port in the console?"
And then later down the line, it becomes duh.
Then it becomes standard.
That's
exactly.
Right.
So
and a little bit of smoke to Microsoft themselves, because they tend to not have the strength of their conviction to tell you, they don't have the courage. Shout out to the iPhone removing freaking things. Oh, courage to continue down the same path, even though you don't like it. And had they continued down that same path, we would be in a world right now where you would be able to do exactly what you're talking about there, Fuzzy. Right. Now, the problem, unfortunately, with NFTs is that is the smoke, and that is the shroud they hide in front of you. They hide in front of your own eyes, because as a base in technology, it can do exactly that. But who will control that technology? Say you have a component of that game, say in a Ubisoft game, which they're trying to sell you left and right, right? And then that Ubisoft game goes away, right? They would then have to work with a third party that then keeps a single frame or what you would call like a minimum baseline of technology that can be transferred to another game or another platform that you can then continue to use said good. None of them. If you can't get them to keep your consoles and or your games from going away because no one's giving them crap about it, you think they're going to share their proprietary technology so you can use your stock gun skin on another game? Hell no. It was just and I say that because of the history that we already see, right? Until you keep giving them crap, they will never give up anything for quote unquote consumer good. So yes, they'll sell you NFTs all day, but that NFT will stay in the walled garden that they want it to be, because it's just selling you games. Because the moment that they are allowing you to take it elsewhere, you are now no longer have to buy from them, because you can just reuse what you have, and no destination will want that. Oh, this game on PlayStation, I can use that, so I'll continue using that. That means you're not buying that skin on PlayStation. You think PlayStation will let you do that, or Xbox, or any other platform where this could work? Yeah, it's a great headline and it'll help you buy a few of these things left and right. But at the end of the day, unless there's a third party arbiter that knows what they are talking about, and shout out to Pong for saying that a little earlier, we need on high legislative like oversight, which I'm sorry, whenever they go to Congress and they ask you, why is my iPhone tracking me everywhere? They are not ready to be the ones to know the technology. So it's always lagging behind, right? If they were able to have good oversight, yes, sir, there are technologies that today can help you do that. But they are not at the clip where they can actually argue the point and force them to do the right thing, because they don't even know what the right thing is right now, right? They are horse and buggy while people are talking planes. That's where we are, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. And I think that to your greater point there, Fuzzy, blockchain, NFTs is the negative word. Blockchain is the tech behind it, right? That would give that identity as a purchase to your digital game, which they can do in other ways. Again, blockchain isn't the be all end all. It's just the most popular thing right now because it was attached to the whole NFT craze. But blockchain definitely could be used to give us ownership of our digital properties. Again, like Kay Asante said, now if a company goes completely out of business, well, you're kind of SOL at that point. That's why I said there's got to be fail safes built into these things so that we can still use the digital product even if the company's out of business. I think that's something that needs to be broached and protected for the consumer. But I think that would be a great thing. Now that we're here in a digital age, yes, I'm all for it if we could trade our digital games in, even if it was back to Microsoft, even if they gave us, $10, $15 for a game I'm not going to play anymore. Absolutely, I would love that towards another purchase. I don't care if it's store credit. That would be fine with me. I think I'm all about that, and I wish they would implement it like Kiyosaki said. They implemented pretty much everything else they talked about, but that one thing they did not do. And I think there's probably reasons behind that, but I wish they would go back and look at that and say, okay, it seems like our customer base is now ready for it. Let's try to figure out how we can make this happen.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Anything from you, PTK, as far as trading or being able to resell your games or anything along those lines, as far as using blockchain or the quote unquote NFT referencing that they've been talking about before, instead of it being for gun skins, make it more so for you could either pass down games or exchange games and so forth.
I would like to see that conversation kind of pick back up a little bit. It is interesting. There's a lot of, like Pong said, I'm not as technically, I don't know the technology behind that as well as you guys might, but I do think it's an interesting concept. If we're capable of doing it, I do think it should be talked about and explored. But once again, lots of red tape, lots of legislation. Things tend to get lost in the sauce when that happens, especially when we're taking things into politics. Like that's always muddy, right? That things get muddy, things get delayed. They sit on the shit for 10 years. Like, we'll look at it later. This is not that important to us right now. So it's extremely, it's a slippery slope. We definitely need to have the conversation. So I do love the fact that, this is something that Xbox attempted to do, 10 years ago at this current point in time, but it was just too early. The market wasn't there. We weren't ready. They didn't do a great job at explaining what the benefit of the online DRM, always online, would be for us if they had done a better job at explaining the actual benefit rather than saying you guys just need this. None of us are like, well, a lot of people are like, well, why? You know what I mean? Some of us understood, but because PC is always, there was a lot of examples of systems being online, games being always online. So it wasn't like there weren't examples. They just didn't provide, they didn't really translate that well to the masses why this is going to be a benefit. So
which was definitely their fault. Yeah,
absolutely their fault. So I'm not blaming anybody else for that. Pong hit the nail on the head. They dropped the ball when they didn't explain it properly. That was a different Xbox too, right? So that was a completely different Xbox. We still had Donnie DeMarco running the company. So
Donnie D, the
Donnie
infamous.
D. Yeah. So but it's interesting. We do need to have the conversation because things are becoming, online is, like you said, it accounts for so much of the market now that conversation has to come back up, and it will at some point as things go further and further in this digital direction.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, sorry for taking it a little bit messy or sideways, I guess. But I just had to get a few of those things off my chest because I just thought it was like the silliest argument. It's like, well, it's an always online game. Why do you even need the disc at that point? Like, we were complaining about it being online, but now we're complaining more about it not having a disc when it just seemed like FUD for the fact that it was Xbox and no other reason other than it was Xbox. But loved your guys' feedback on it. That's all I got.
Awesome. So we are going to go ahead and wrap the show up on that note, man. It was a phenomenal show, man. We went a lot of different directions. We don't tend to do that too often, but I love the fact that we touched on a lot of some of that other stuff, man. But once again, just quick shout out to everybody in chat that came out, watched this live. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. If you're new here, subscribe, hit the like button. It helps the algorithm, right? It helps people see the podcast. Appreciate you guys so much, the energy, and everybody watching on the replay later on. Thank you so much, man. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Once again, before we get on to our guests here and give all of our outros, my DMs are open. I love ideas. So any ways to improve the show, any ideas you guys might have, hit me in my DMs. I'm real easy to talk to, real easy to find. All of that stuff is in the description. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Mr. Asante, man. I appreciate you, bro. And I'm sure my compatriots here will also express the same sentiment that I am. We always love having you on, bro. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. You will always get an invite from me, on this show. You're like family as well, and I'm sure they feel the same way, brother. Let everybody know where they can find you at, brother.
Oh, I appreciate the invite. I will go back now to my study where I was saying I was reading a book, but let's be honest, I was playing Hogwarts Legacy on the Steam Deck. And then wait for the next time when the glowing sign of the Shop Podcast icon blares through my window and stand up once again like Michael Keaton, ready to jump into my outfit. So thank you guys so much for having me here. It was a great show. Always love the strong opinions, the strong takes. Very, very well informed. I love the tech talk. You know me. I'm in it for that. So this is always great to come and chop it up with you gentlemen. So thank you guys so much once again. Yes, TKO Asante, PlayStation, Xbox, all those places you want to find me. And hopefully it'll continue to be Twitter, but we can talk about that one later. Yes, myself and Everborn Saga, we do a semi-slanderous podcast at Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about many of these topics. And we like to have some evergreen topics from here and there. Actually, this weekend, what we did, which I really want more people to listen. Myself and Everborn were in the DMs talking back and forth about he wanted to put out there a devil's advocate, right, about the current situation we're in and Xbox and all that. And I say he made a very strong case. The chat went left and went against him. We had a poll. It was 60, I think 60-40 or 60-30 against him. But I think the man made some strong points. We call it the Devil's Advocate episode. We hope y'all can check it out. It was really cool. But yes, and yes, we do it. We do the show. You do the double browser thing. With living split screen, and we usually don't go as long as they do. So then we always make sure and ask all the community members. We always make sure that before we end, we let them know that the living split screen is still going live. So go show your support and go subscribe because we want to see them. We want to see Living Split Screen hit 1K as well. It is long overdue. We appreciate the brothers in the community. We all love these gaming streets and these discussions. So I really appreciate everybody for continuing to show support and for allowing me to be on the show. I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, once again, you guys do me a favor. Go show Asante, Everborn, the whole gaming circle some love. All that information is down in the description. You guys know what we do here at the Shop Podcast. We show all of our guests, whether they're returning or brand new, the same amount of love because they took their time to come out and hang out with us, man. So appreciate you, Asante. Like I said, bro, you always welcome here, bro. No matter what, even if I don't send you an invite, just let me know you want to come through. You know what I'm saying? So you always got the keys.
I need a beer. Let me go into your fridge real quick.
Exactly, bro. Don't ask me for nothing. You better go in there and find something, bro. I ain't cooking nothing. But anyway, I appreciate you, man. You're a scholar and a gentleman, man. Thank you for coming on and spending a little time. And shout out to Wifey for allowing you to take this time.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
we gotta,
it. Yes.
We got to make sure we do our proper dues.
Got to make sure the questions are answered correctly. May I? Yes, dear. Thank you. Yeah.
Exactly. But I appreciate you, brother. But on to these two awesome gentlemen here who make me look good every week, man. We'll start with Mr. Pong So, the Duracell battery, the Shop Podcast, man. Phenomenal show, brother. Got into a lot of different stuff. The AI stuff, it was real good this week, man. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Absolutely great show, fantastic. Again, it just never ends. Every Saturday night, I know I'm gonna get done with my podcasting week in the best way possible with you guys, and of course to have a gentleman and a scholar like Mr. K. Asante show up, obviously adds to it. It's just a cherry on top, and it was great to have him on here to talk that AI talk and some of the tech talk tonight. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the kind words about Living Split Screen. And obviously what you and Everborn are building over there is special. And Steele and I are honored to be a part of the Saturday morning crew with you guys as well. So thank you. Thank you, sir, for being here. Chat, you guys were absolutely incredible. I'm going to change up my ending here a little bit because I did want to mention a couple things real quick. A lot of people didn't realize IGN Fan Fest is going on this weekend. Go back and watch this morning's part of the show because they did Diablo 4 beta coming up, early beta for the people that pre-order the weekend of March 17th. And then they're going to have an open beta for everybody else the following weekend as well. And your levels will carry over from those two betas, or the first beta will carry over to the second beta as well. And if you hit level 20, they're saying that you're going to get something in game when the full release happens, something special. Ferguson tweeted that out, but go check that out. Redfall had a great showing today as well. A new
I gotta see that footage,
trailer.
Man. I heard it looks better every time, man.
Steele actually even thought it looked better today. He thought the gunplay and some of the work that they did in it actually did show some improvement. So go check that out in 4K. Looking absolutely phenomenal. Plus the interview was great. They gave some more details today. Untethered co-ops. You're going to be able to run anywhere you want to. And reiterated that the single player is going to be different from you co-oping it. It's going to be a different experience for you, and the stealth is going to be different than if you go run and gun. All of that was in that. That was great. And Liza P was also there and had another great showing as well. So go check that out. And then quick shout out to our brothers over at the Iron Lord podcast. We were talking about generational games. They always have great people on, right? They always have great, whether community people or some of the big people in the industry. Tomorrow, they got an interview with Cliffy B. So if you didn't see that Cliff Blazinski is going to be on there tomorrow, that is epic. Again, epic. Whatever you think about Cliffy B, dude had a huge hand in creating one of the genre-defining games of the 360 and Gears of War. So go check out Iron Lords tomorrow. It's going to be big. Otherwise, you guys know the drill. Pong Soul everywhere. You find me, you got to watch Xbox Factor, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central, Tuesdays over on Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick. Thursdays, it's Fun Speculations channel, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, where we always have a good time. And then Xbox Ultimate, where we laugh a lot on Friday nights, but we also talk a lot of gaming. Never know what's going to go happen there, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And then Saturday mornings, as Kay Asante already did a great job promoting, it's Living Split Screen with my brother from another, Steel Rain, and I, 3+ hours every Saturday. Listen, buckle up, jump on in whenever you got a chance. We have a great time with our chat. We talk a lot because we like to hear ourselves do that, but that's where it's at, Saturday mornings, of course, at the same time as Everborn and Kay Asante are on. So have those two tabs up, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Be there. Otherwise, I'll be back here next weekend. Golden Age is here, folks. Get out there this weekend. Enjoy the rest of it. Play what you love what you play. And I'll talk to you all real soon.
Awesome, bro. Always love having you here, Pong. Every single week, bro, you add so much to the show, man. You guys know what to do. You guys know where to find Pong. Go follow him on Twitter. He's all over the place. You never know from week to week. So go follow him on Twitter. It's the easiest place to go keep up with, his wanderings and where he's going to be at every single week, brother. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz, while we wrap this thing up, bro.
Well, it's always awesome being on here with you guys, and always great to have Kay Asante on here. Love hearing your perspective and points of view on everything, and whether it be technology or gaming. It's always awesome having you with us here. For anybody that's interested in any of my ramblings or rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Xbox Lunch Break Special on Double Barrel Gaming at 12 noon or 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on Mr. Boomstick's channel. And then later that evening, FSP on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Friday morning on Double Barrel Gaming. And then later that evening, also Xbox Ultimate on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right back here on the Shop Podcast, 8 p.m. Eastern, right back here with the family. Look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome, brother. Always love having you here too. The smoothing things out, man. Always bringing the good racing topics, man. Appreciate you, Fuzz, every single week, man. You're like a brother. Man, thank you so much for being here as well, too. And last but not least, your boy PTK Blam, host of the Shop Podcast, man. Find me here every single week. Go follow me. All the information is down in the description below. If you're new here, please go do that as well. Poll of the week, all of that good stuff. We will be back here, same place, same time next week. Looking for a guest as well. If you guys got any suggestions, I love getting new guests on here as well as returning, but I love finding new guests. So if you guys have any people that you think would be cool on the show, or you just would like to see here on the panel, throw me them suggestions, hit me up in the DMs, or just, tweet someone at me on Twitter as well, too. But I appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week. Like I said, enjoy your weekend. Please be safe. Have a beautiful one. We are out of here, everybody. Peace out.
Later.